Hey there, it's me, Elbi Cespedes. I want to be like you with Elbi Cespedes. And can you see me there? I know you can hear me, but can you see me? Because, give it to me. Let there be light. Up until we filmed this episode, that's all I knew about lighting and lighting design. I knew that lighting design could tell stories, but I didn't quite know how. And today's episode, we talked to our first ever lighting designer on the show, Kevin Adams, who is currently nominated for a Tony Award for Best Lighting Design for Chess, the musical. And so, that was my silly little bit to do it in the darkness, because once there's light, there's so much that's added with lighting. However, and that's what I was trying to convey, right? Is that lighting adds so much. However, there's so many things I didn't realize, so many things I learned about lighting design in just chatting with Kevin. It was such an honor and such a privilege because Kevin has 4 Tony Awards. He has 4 Tony Awards. One for Spring Awakening, original cast, that's right. American Idiot, The 39 Steps, and Hedwig and the Angry Inch, all of which he won his Tonys for. 9 Tony nominations, and like I mentioned, is currently nominated for the production of Chess. He's also writing a book about lighting design because he felt that there were no books about lighting design that weren't like textbooks, right? And so that book comes out hopefully in the fall or within the next year. And also, he will be doing the lighting design for Galileo, which is coming to Broadway next season at the Shubert Theatre, which is pretty exciting. We get to talking a little bit about that. And we talk about his entire career, which stems from working in Hollywood on music videos, lighting music videos for Janet Jackson and Meatloaf, and also into his time with Hedwig, which was started from the very beginning. He was involved with Hedwig up until, up through, I should say, the Broadway production, which is pretty special, and he tells a lot of interesting stories there. I ask a lot of questions that for those of you who aren't lighting designers, might not know about how, what a team like his looks like, what their jobs are, what the difference between an associate lighting designer, what a programmer is. I mean, there's so many things that I learned out of this episode, and I became a little bit less naive about lighting design, because as an actor, I think it's really important to understand how those things work and how those things are working in tandem with the work that you're doing as a performer to push the story, to not push the story, but to tell the story in the most effective way. So I just have so much admiration for designers because I think their brains are just like hyper creative all the time, which is kind of amazing. And you kind of have to be to problem solve and also initiate certain ideas. So I have just the utmost respect for designers, and we have and lighting designers in particular, and we have a first lighting designer here with us today. I'm so happy he's here, and I think you're going to get a lot out of this episode. Let's do it. Let's discuss Kevin Adams. I want to be like you. 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 Welcome to another episode of I Want to Be Like You with Elbi Cespedes, introducing Kevin Adams.
Hi,
Thank you
Elbi.
so much for being here.
Yes, sir. Nice to see you.
You are our first lighting designer on the podcast.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. But you're not just a lighting designer, which we'll discuss.
Yes.
So we start the podcast with the same question every time, and it is, who was your I Want to Be Like You when you were a kid?
When I was a kid,
Yeah.
I knew you asked that, and it's funny. I don't, I was an only child, and I kind of like arrived in my parents' life from like Planet Sissy, and like my father was a high school football coach in Texas, and I don't think they knew what to make of me, and they weren't around a lot. That's a lot of information.
No, you're
So
good.
like the people I looked to were like people, my friend was the television. I wanted to be Samantha Stevens and Bewitched and have magic powers.
Right.
It wasn't until I was like 18 or 19 and fell into discovering Andy Warhol. I didn't want to be like Andy Warhol.
Sure.
But I really like his work. And
Right.
that was like a 15-year exploration that started with paintings and sculptures,
Yeah.
and then really delved into his films, which are amazing.
Were you painting and sculpting too?
Negative. No.
Okay.
No. Do you want to know about what I did?
Yeah, do it. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I went to Where do we start with this story? I was in shows in high school,
Uh-huh.
and I had this great, like a lot of us did, a great high school drama teacher who very gently guided me after an audition for Diary of Anne Frank,
Uh-huh.
said, "Would you like to design the scenery?"
Right.
And I had been in a lot of shows, but I was like, "What is that?" You know? And he's like, "Well, you would design the scenery for Diary of Anne Frank, and here's some books." And I just took to it because I had kind of been doing that, like as an only child, you entertain yourselves in all these ways.
Sure.
I'd kind of been doing that in my bedroom with like these seasonal tableaux
Right.
that I would play with and change out every 2 months. And like, honestly, if I knew like window decorating was a thing, I probably would have gone into that. I'd probably be living in Dallas working at Neiman's.
That's funny.
That's true. But I didn't know. So I really took to set design and I started designing sets. And I think I lit 1 or 2 shows. I went to the University of Texas and studied set design. Never had any interest in the lighting. Never looked up at the lights. Was like all about set design.
Right.
And then in '84, I went to CalArts for a 2-year master's program. And MTV had started a few years before,
Right.
and I thought I wanted to work in music videos, which
Oh,
was
cool.
amazing at the time.
Right.
And CalArts taught design for film and for theater. So I thought I would like to do that. So it was a 2-year program. I was in and out really quick, didn't study the lighting at all, studied a lot of film design. I moved into Hollywood with a million of my friends from CalArts. And I worked in what little theater there was. I worked on high-end commercials as a set dresser, props person, studio work. I worked in a ton of music videos, like
Right.
80s music
Oh,
videos.
you did get to.
Yeah, like Dokken.
Nice.
Dokken was the first in '85. Meatloaf,
Nice.
Debbie Allen,
Oh my gosh.
Arsenio Hall. Like every recording artist
Right.
got money to make a music video.
Right. Right.
Tony Basil worked on a lot of those. Anyway, then I lit a Janet Jackson music video in '92, I think.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I got my first year out of CalArts, I was the resident set design assistant at the Mark Taper Forum.
Very cool.
So I assisted like John Lee Beatty,
Wow.
Ralph Funicello, Doug Stein, like Harold Prince was there. I met Ken Billington, Joanne Akalaitis. Like all these amazing people were there that year.
Right.
I was also a go-go boy at the time. At
Oh my
clubs.
gosh.
Yeah, I had long blonde hair and looked like a tough girl, and I loved that job so
Sure.
much. Bette Midler was a go-go dancer.
With you? At the
No,
same
no,
time?
no.
Oh, I was going to say, whoa.
I think she moved to New York in the mid-'60s, and
Okay.
she talks about it. And she also loved it. I think she talks about like dancing around like off time. Must have been Midtown somewhere.
Sure.
But she also loved that job.
That's so funny.
Goldie Hawn, of course, was a go-go dancer.
That's so funny.
But I loved it. I was really good, and I really enjoyed it. And I started making photo-based work from Polaroids, and that developed to then making photos and video work of images that I'd refilm. And that was shown at LA County Museum of Arts a couple of times, like '94, '95. I made this video in '92 about this gay bashing murder that took place in Houston
Right.
in 1991. And that was a really great little short, about 13 minutes long. And that showed all over the world.
Yeah.
So I was doing all those things and influenced by I'm just jumping into all this.
No, do it.
Influenced by space and light artists whose work I was seeing in museums, I started lighting my own sets.
Interesting.
Because my little set design career was like barely chugging along because there's not much theater in LA and I had a modest talent. And I started lighting my own little sets and the phone just started ringing.
Well, your talent must have not been that modest because you were lighting all these music videos.
Well, that came later.
Oh, okay. Okay.
This was like 87, 88, 89
Okay.
that I started lighting my own little sets.
Gotcha.
And there was in the late 80s and early 90s this solo performance scene in America that was amazing. Like every medium and large city had local performance artists and local performance artist festivals. I kid you not, they were like everywhere. Colleges had solo festivals, and dance festivals would feature solo performers, and museums. And
That's
I'm
wild.
telling you, it was a huge scene. So this amazing lady named Rachel Rosenthal, I could pick up the phone, and she's like in the LA Times like every week. And it's like, oh my God, Rachel Rosenthal's calling me. And she said, I saw what you did with that show with light. That's how I see my show. Will you come light my show? And I'd say, well, I'm not really a lighting designer. I'm a set designer. And she said the same thing that all these people said. She said, that's okay. Come light this show. And if it works, it's great. And if it doesn't work, it's no big deal. And that was like, could you say no to that?
Right. That's amazing. Yeah.
These were like really interesting theater artists. John Fleck was a solo artist he was my first LA boyfriend, and I had done backup singing and dancing in his club acts. But I started lighting his work around LA. And then the Actors Gang, they called Tim Robbins. There was all this group of UCLA grads that Jack Black was in these shows.
Wow.
They called, and I started lighting some of their shows. This group of USC grads, I started working with them. And then I started lighting other set designers' work. And it just didn't stop.
Yeah.
And then I started getting regional work. Like Michael Greif was at La Jolla.
Yeah.
And that's where I met Michael Mayer. They invited me down to light a show with Michael.
Oh, interesting.
That David Morse was
What were they doing in La Jolla?
Well, Michael Greif ran La Jolla Playhouse for
he was there to director or something?
Yeah.
Wow.
He was.
And Michael Mayer?
He was a visiting director. Directing the show.
Gotcha. Interesting. Well, I was going to ask you when you say, I want to take it back just a little bit to say, in high school, when you're talking about all these shows that you were working on, this is in Texas.
Yes.
And I was wondering what your exposure was to theater at that age, aside from high school. Did you see shows, like touring shows or things like that?
Yeah. I just wrote a book and I write about this. It's these rock musicals that sort of like, I didn't know what they were, but they kind of seduced me into show making or theater. Like in the 60s, we were members of the Columbia 8 Track of the Month Club, and we got the recording of Hair, which was amazing. I didn't understand the songs, but they were so cool because they were like sung by a wide range of voices, and sometimes one person and sometimes a group of people. And it's like all musicals, it's a variety of kinds of songs, and it's like, okay, this is cool. Yeah. Then my mom dropped me off one night to see the movie Jesus Christ Superstar when I was like 10.
Yeah.
And that like blew my mind. Somehow I found my way back to the movie theater the next night.
Right.
And I bought the album and I wore that album out. But it's like, wait, these people are singing these songs and they never speak, and they're singing at each other in like this really dramatic way. And there are lights pointed at the camera and girls in afros and fringe. And it's like, what is all this?
Right.
And then 2 years later, Ken Russell's movie of The Who's Tommy came out. Another like sung through electric guitar, rock opera with a lot of camp and just maximalist. And those three things were just like, so like, lured me into electric guitars and sequins and I mean, which is odd because that's sort of what I ended up doing for years.
I was gonna say that's like it just happens to be that the shows that you've worked on that have been the most evocative of who you are those Spring Awakening and the American Idiot and Hedwig and now Chess. And so I was gonna ask you another thing in regards to going to Hollywood and working on these music videos. I wanted to ask you what it means, and this is partially some naivete, but also to explain to an audience that may not know as much about lighting design, which is, tell me what it means exactly to light a music video. And if you were you a DP on those music videos?
No, I was in the art, all of those film projects, I was in the art department for.
Okay.
I worked, I drafted, I did renderings, I built models, and then I'd move over to production and set dress and do props and be on set art department.
Gotcha.
Or like for Meatloaf, I designed sets for that show because I was an art director. I was an art director for Sandra Bernhard's feature Without You I'm Nothing. I was an art director for this Disney special about Minnie Mouse that Elton John and Suzanne Summers and stars of the 80s were on. Vanna White, the Budweiser dog.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
That was all art department.
Okay.
Janet Jackson was the only music video I lit. And often films will hire, if they have like a concert or a play on stage, they will hire like a theater person to come in and light that stuff. You see that all the time.
Right.
Like Jules Fisher not only lit Chicago, but he lit Streisand and A Star Is Born and Chris Christopherson and all that concert stuff.
Gotcha.
That's Jules's work. Jules has lit many films. So I lit a Janet Jackson music video called If.
Gotcha.
They were looking for someone to come in and light the performance part of the video.
I see. Okay.
Which is what I lit.
Right.
I worked for a long time and intersected the filming for one day of that Mildred Pierce HBO Todd Haynes film. I've lit some big Super Bowl Budweiser commercials.
Nice.
With Schwarzenegger and stuff like that. So cool. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I think that's all the film.
And how does that differ then, I should say, for those who don't know? Well, for those who don't know, a DP is a director of photography, otherwise known as a cinematographer. How does the job of lighting differ from the job, on film that is, from the job of a cinematographer or a DP?
Well, you're lighting a performance. You're usually lighting a thing on a stage.
Right.
So you're lighting like scenery, or you're lighting performers in a performance.
Right.
And then for Janet Jackson, music videos were in 35 millimeter film, which sees differently than the eye sees. Digital now sees very similar way as the eye does, and it's much easier to light for. And everyone's got a monitor. Everyone's got 10 monitors.
Interesting.
So you can balance that work really quickly for a monitor. Film, I had no idea how that worked. And I told them, like, I'm happy to light this, but I don't get this at all. And I know how to look through a camera, and it was a production company I had done a ton of work for. I was very comfortable there. But and they were like, that's okay, light the performers, and if we see that you need help, we're going to come help you. Because film just sees differently. But they were great. We shot that music video on day film stock indoors.
Wow.
And it was the first of those to do that. So it was super warm. It looks like it was shot through a mug of beer. Yeah. But they would come over often and show me this sepia gel and say, now remember, it's going to look like this. And they would show me that. But mostly I did okay with the balancing and all that.
Very cool.
It's much easier now because the digital camera is seeing similar to the way they
for a bunch of different reasons. Digital is easier to handle than film. I want to ask you so because you studied scenic design for your bachelor's and kind of a bit of your master's as well before creeping into lighting design. Yeah. When you decided to light your own sets, were you doing it on like to scale in those models as well? No. Like when you would build your,
No, I don't even know if I was, those first things, I must have had a model.
Sure.
I don't remember how, I even expressed what the design was going to be.
Yeah.
But the lighting, because I didn't know my way around, there weren't many theater instruments to use in the 80s and the decades before. Mm-hmm. There were a really narrow range. I kind of knew what they did, but I hadn't used them very much.
Right.
Those shows were lit with things I found at hardware stores. Light bulbs.
Interesting.
Fluorescent tubes.
Yeah.
It was like really low tech. And I lit a lot of shows using all kinds of light bulbs, fluorescent tubes, and stuff like that. Until I lit 3 Broadway shows, musicals, with fluorescent light bulbs and fluorescent tubes. Spring Awakening, Next to Normal, and Passing Strange had a huge amount of fluorescent light in them.
Gotcha.
So there you go. All that stuff's is not made anymore. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it isn't made anymore too because of just, I guess, newer material has made it so that you don't need it, and also it's better for the earth. Is that right?
There was a big energy efficiency transition where those things were phased out.
I see.
And we've gone from the incandescent era, which we sat in for 100 years. Yeah. We had this amazing overlap of 18 to 22 years where you could pull stuff from the incandescent era, fluorescent light, and then this new LED stuff. And that's in that short overlap is where I made Spring Awakening. I couldn't make...
Where you're using both of those things.
Yeah, all those things. Fluorescent light, incandescent, and LED.
Gotcha.
Now we've settled in...
Primarily LED.
Yeah. Now it's kind of like how I started in the 80s when there was a narrow range of instruments you could use or sources. I mean, there's a million kinds of LED lights, but they all have the same sort of narrow range of lamp inside.
I
So
see.
we're kind of back to where I started.
That's interesting.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I want to ask you about your Broadway debut, which was Getting and Spending.
Yes.
Talk to me about how you got that gig and what brought you to New York after spending time in so much time in California.
Yeah, in 92, I got this NEA TCG fellowship. TCG is a theater communications group. They used maybe they still have this fellowship.
Okay.
They probably don't have funding from the government anymore.
Sure.
This was National Endowment for the Arts funding. And every year they had 6 designers and several directors. Michael Mayer had it the year before me, and I actually met him at a summer retreat at Smith College for one of these things. So in 92, I spent a year, or part of a year, observing work being made at theaters across America. A lot of Robert Wilson at the Alley doing Danton's Death with Richard Thomas. Einstein on the Beach at BAM. I got to sit in the empty BAM and watch Einstein on the Beach a couple of times, which was an amazing experience. Peter Sellers directing Death of Klinghoffer in San Francisco. Directors I really, 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 really liked.
Yeah.
And other stuff that I can't remember. But I was coming to New York more.
Yeah.
And in LA, you tell people you work in theater. This was in the 80s. Because I went to industry parties. All my friends were actors and industry types. So I'd go to industry parties. And you tell people you work in theater, and everyone would do they tilt their head to the side and go what theater? And they had such a point. It's the same way when you walked in LA, the way people looked at you.
You're walking?
Yeah. So I started going to New York more. And the cool thing about New York, and I sensed this immediately. I don't even know if I notice this anymore, or if this is even true anymore. You'd go into the deli and you're waiting in line, and there's 2 people in front of you talking about a show they saw. And it's oh, they're talking about a show they saw. And then you'd go to the door, and there's 2 people talking about a show they're in. And it's oh my God, they're in a show. And then you'd go outside on the sidewalk, and there's 2 more people talking about a show they saw, And it's that is what I've been looking for in LA. Film work wasn't totally my thing because there was a lot of realistic design, sofas and kitchens, and the hours for our art department.
Right.
You're the first to arrive and the last to leave. Lighting designer hours are a little different. So I kept going back to LA, and I'd wake up in the morning and all my stuff looked really foreign to me. And it's what am I doing here? And I had lived through earthquakes there, and the OJ trial was unbelievable. The LA riots, I kept looters out of my building for a week. That was an experience. I was attacked by a big homeless man. A lot of my friends were dying of HIV. And my friends who didn't die were moving to New York. And it's okay, I could hang out here with the ghosts, or I could move to New York.
Right.
So I just felt it was time to move to New York and just focus on being a lighting designer.
Gotcha. And had you stayed connected with Michael and Michael Mayer, that is?
Yeah, was working in regional theaters while I was living in LA. I worked at Trinity Rep.
Oh, cool.
Oscar Eustace used to be at the Taper. I had done shows with him.
Oh, cool.
He was at Trinity and brought me there to do a show or 2. I had done some shows at the Public Theater that George had just started. I'd done 2 solo shows and another solo show at the Public. A show with Moises, Kaufman, and a show at CSC. I had done all those things before I moved to New York.
Right.
And worked at those regional theaters.
Right.
I worked at Berkeley Rep.
Very cool.
So I had work kind of lined up.
And you were committed full-time lighting designer now.
Yeah, when I moved to New York, it was I'm going to be a lighting designer. Because the set, I could get paid well. Lighting, scenery, there's a huge amount of what I call sidewalk time. You go into the shop, you're looking for not so much, but the props, and you got the prop meeting and the studio meetings. There's just a lot of meetings and sidewalk
Other aspects
time.
of it, yeah.
Yeah. Lighting gets paid very well. And it's really concentrated to meetings, rehearsal, which I love, And then when you're in the theater, you're working every second that you have.
Yeah.
So I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So it's more concentrated.
Well, take us through that process a little bit more, and then we'll go back to getting and spending. But the idea that no, you're good. The idea that what does rehearsals mean for you besides tech?
Well, I usually come into a show about a year before the first performance.
Okay.
So I start with a show. This is musicals, like
Yeah.
plays. Not so much this process I'm going to describe.
Right.
Usually a director will say, I've been meeting with the set designer. They have a model. Come look at the model. And so like,
Right.
oh, okay, fine. Operas can be all kinds of ways. New musicals, I kind of have to be involved early on. And especially with Michael, I'm involved early on, but other directors too. The first meetings I'm at with the set designer and the director and me. Sometimes a costume designer, rarely a choreographer because they're busy, and some smart associates are around, also director associate, and we spend several meetings just talking about the script and the story. If you have a piece that the writer is willing to still work on the piece because some of them like, here it is,
Right.
I'm not working on it again. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
If you have, most writers will continue to work on the piece. The first few meetings are like a writer's room.
Okay.
So you're talking about like, what is the story? Does this scene make sense? Could these two scenes be one scene?
Wow, and you're involved in all in these types of meetings.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because is this song in the wrong act? Is this an Act 2 song and somehow it's an Act 1? Is this just the wrong song for this show? All those kinds of questions we go through.
Wow.
The director will take all that information back to the writers and come back and say, okay, we've gained some ground here, and here.
Right.
That's helpful with the designers because in the first pass, you'll have like 35 scenes, and 4 of them are like, it's a kitchen with running water and a refrigerator, and we're there for 4 minutes. I'm like, how are we going to make that work? Okay.
Right.
It just, in sort of slimming down scenes or combining scenes or tossing scenes out, you sort of, it's a little easier to design locations then. There's just less locations.
Right.
And some of those still might go, but you're not trying to figure out like impossible locations that would go like in the second day of tech.
Totally.
So it sort of streamlines locations. The narrative starts to make sense. Once the story and all that starts to make sense, then we turn our attention toward the set design. Ground plan first is very important. Set design. And then if there are electrics in the set, I'll talk about those things. The lighting of the show, I don't talk too much about yet because there's no show to light yet.
Right.
So we'll have those meetings for some time, and then it goes to a bit. I'll talk about big picture rules often in meetings. Like for Spring Awakening, the rule for me was this is 19th century stuff with 21st century lighting sculptures. It's these two worlds coming together. And I just repeated that. So that, like, to me, everything was sort of filtered through that parameter.
Right.
For American Idiot, I said, because we had all just done Spring Awakening, I said, all these shows are like coming out into the house, like our Spring Awakening did, that we were sort of known for. And I said, we should do something really old-fashioned with this really contemporary rock musical. We should set it completely inside the proscenium, like an opera. Like I said, I kept saying, like, this should not be like going to see Green Day at Madison Square Garden with a bunch of gear everywhere. It should be like going to see The Who. In 1970, I believe, The Who did Tommy twice at the Metropolitan Opera. I said, this should be like going to see Green Day at the Metropolitan Opera. It should be really clean, hang out front, not much stuff. I don't know who notices that.
Sure.
And all the energy of the show should come from within the proscenium instead of like spreading out
Outward.
Yeah. I thought there would be a really cool contrast between the music and that sort of old-fashioned proscenium approach.
Right.
So I'll repeat.
And that's what you guys wound up doing.
We did do that.
Yeah.
So those are like big picture things I'll repeat. Or for Spring Awakening, I took a really pretty blue compact fluorescent light bulb in, and we looked at that, and that defined the end of Act 1. And,
oh, interesting.
Yeah. So I'll bring in materials some, but And I've been doing these drawings and collages the last few shows. I'll do that.
Oh, cool. And how many ideas are you developing? Like, we're going into, especially a first meeting, what are the ideas that you're kind of garnering based on a script? You know what I mean? Knowing like something like what you mentioned with Spring Awakening, and knowing that blue light was the end of Act 1, was meant to represent something. Is like, when you read a script, how many ideas are you walking into the first meeting saying, okay, this is my vision of what I'm thinking, or X, Y, and Z?
Yeah, I mean, yes, correct. You don't know, like, you try not to get too specific with a scene or a song, because you don't know if that scene or song are going to be around much
Right.
longer,
Right.
But I have a good director. There's this director's vision thing is kind of a myth. A good director will have an idea about a style of presentation and a few key points, and they'll say like, okay, that's what I want to do with it. What do you guys want to do with it?
Right.
Because we all have ideas about what we want to do with shows.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I might have like the same, like I have an idea for this song or an idea for this, but I mean, for ultimately, not in those first meetings, but the rehearsal, then once we get into tech, it is the music that informs me with so much. It is the music, the lyrics of the music, and then, yeah, the story of the scenes, what the characters are up to.
Right, for sure.
Which in musicals is not so subtle. Musicals are a little sketched in with character, but still, yeah, but that's not quite so much in the first meetings yet. I'm talking about vaguer things about like quality of light. What is the quality of light in this, or a seasonal arc, or if it's a pop rock show, about how the show approaches the spectator, how the show comes at the spectator, because I do a lot of pop rock shows, and the way they move at the spectator needs to be different in each of those. I can't do the same thing every time.
Right.
Although most people think like, oh, it's just the flashing lights again. But I see that there are different rules around the flashing lights, perhaps. So,
well, a big discussion that I've heard you have before in another interview is like the idea that in a show like Beautiful Noise or the Cher Show, it's like not necessarily trying to, for lack of a better word, imitate or copy the style that Neil Diamond would have had during one of his concerts, but rather add to it from a theatrical level. Am I right about that?
Yeah. I mean, you're making, and for hair too, to do hair, I didn't like jump into like what the lighting for a thing in 1968 would have been.
Sure.
And for Cher and for Neil Diamond, you're using contemporary technology, and you're making a show that's as bright and that's similar to what people see or are used to. So that's going to be different than what house shows were lit before.
Right. And well, we'll get to Cher, because I have a couple of things. Yeah, I really enjoyed that piece, and so I have a couple of things, but we'll get there. Talking about getting and spending, how did you get this job that landed you your Broadway debut?
Yeah, how did I get that job? I had met Joey Tillinger at the Taper in '86, so I knew Joey. I think they just called me. I think I was working, and I think I was also seeing the set designer, who's now my husband. I think we'd been together for a year or so, and he did a lot of Joey's shows, and they just called me, and they said, we're going to start this at the Old Globe, and it's coming to Broadway. And I read it and thought like, oh, this is not a very good play.
Oh, interesting.
But if you guys want to move to Broadway, okay. Like, who am I to argue? But here was the cool thing. Like, I knew it was not going to do well. So it's like, great. I'm not going to like have any, and I knew no one was going to come see it. And yeah. So that gave me a lot of freedom to just like learn the experience of how to do a Broadway show.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it was great. Like I had no, had no illusions at all. Yeah, that this was going to like be anything.
Sure.
And so I learned how to do a Broadway show,
right?
Which like was like a kind of specific thing.
Well, how is it different?
The hours.
Yeah.
Which are very regular on Broadway. The hours are different. Working with the union crews a little different.
Yeah.
You have a lot of time. This is what I like about Broadway. or not every show is this way. You have a lot of time to make a show. That's where Broadway gets fancy. You're always making do with money in every kind of theater, even Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
It's still schleppy, getting by with budget.
Right.
It's a lot of budget, but you're still like making do.
Right.
The time is amazing because you have like 2 to 3 weeks to tech a show, and then you have like 3.5 weeks of previews. So that's like 7-ish weeks that you're in a room making a show, and then I'm
Right.
in rehearsal and blah, blah, blah before that. But
Right.
that's a lot of time to make a show. You know,
Right.
at the Met, you're kind of throwing it together like it's an encores
Yeah.
show,
Right.
you know, and regional theater is shorter and everything else is a little shorter, but the time aspect is quite luxurious. on Broadway.
Right. Right. Well,
That's different.
with the tech process, you know, and we've talked about this with Beowulf a little bit too. Is like, as an actor, as a naive actor, I'm always going, oh God, what is taking so?
Well, I try to not do that. Sorry, do you want to?
No. Yeah, you're totally good.
Yeah, so especially since plots are made of moving lights, I try to stay ahead of where we are in tech.
Right.
I come in with lighting. I come in mornings and I try to stay ahead.
Oh,
Usually I have
interesting.
like 3 days I can start writing cues. So I
Interesting.
get the top of the show done and I get as far as I can. Sometimes I can get through a lot of the first act in 3 or 4 days.
Wow.
Yeah. So that when we start tech, it's not done. I mean, often I'm doing that under work lights. We're still loading in. There's brown paper on the floor.
Right.
There's no human skin. Like someone will walk by and you'll see an arm, and my programmer will say, "Oh, okay, that guy's arm is looking pretty good."
Oh,
you know.
interesting.
And it's the right set is never on stage.
Yeah.
But you're writing cues, and I've just learned how to like write cues around all of that. So
And
you get to
economize
tech
your
with the
time.
actors, and like the cues are kind of written. Now, there's a long way to go after that of like
course.
levels and making people look good. And
Right.
oh, now there's costumes. Okay. And
Right.
here's the floor for the first time. And
Well, how much
Yeah.
surprise is being thrown at you in the middle of tech? Like, how many things are you adjusting on the spot?
it's all a predictable surprise. You
Yeah.
know, it's all new and it's always a surprise.
Mm-hmm.
There are also just surprises that change the way the work of the day is going to be, that everyone just like jumps to that hoop of the day. Like, oh, okay, the drops are stuck in traffic. They're not going to be here today. So we're going to tech without the drops. Okay, so let's do that.
Yeah.
You just roll with all that.
Right.
There's
right.
those big surprises. But I mean, there's always little things, but you're just reacting to things all the time.
Right.
You know?
Right.
You can kind of predict most of those things, or
Yeah.
you're not surprised with them so much. But yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting because, like I said, I throw this out because of my knowledge of design in general stems to an intro to design course in college, and that's pretty much it. But what I've garnered from working with professionals who are doing it is like the amount of detail that all goes into it, and so I've gained a lot more patience and respect for the tech process, knowing that it's not just killing time thing. It's something that is, this is the moment now. I've had a director say this to me once, and I kind of changed my perspective a little bit. It's like, when we enter tech, this is the moment now where you're handing this thing that we just built in rehearsal, you're now handing it to these designers to help enhance it, right? So that it's not something so that the show is yours, and now you're handing over this like present as well, and letting them put their additions onto what you guys have done in the last couple weeks.
Yeah.
And that also is what you guys have been doing for the last couple months, if not a year.
Correct.
So it's just made me gain respect for the tech process, because many people identify that process as the most grueling period in making a show. And I think it's just because it's long hours and things like that.
It's hard work. It
Right.
is a grind. People always say to me, because the shows I do sound like fun shows, like Cher and Neil Diamond and this stuff.
Right.
People are always saying to me like, "Oh, that must have been so much fun." It's like, no, it's never fun. It's an absolute grind, and it's fascinating, and it's really interesting work, and really interesting work is fun.
Yeah.
But it's work.
It is work, right?
It is a lot of work, and you
Right.
never stop. Like, I mean, we laugh a lot, but
Of course.
it's a grind.
Yeah.
Wait, going back to what you said about the whole waiting on stage, Hedwig on Broadway,
Yeah.
which is a show I knew very, very, very well. And I had laid in the lights, and I was having a drink with Neil Patrick Harris one night after the show. And Neil's like, we never hold for lighting. How do you do that? Like we just run these numbers. And I happen to know the numbers really well. And
Right.
we did a lot of work on stage lighting too with him, but we were moving right along. And that's what I try to do with shows, so people aren't holding.
Right.
And I said, well, that's just what I try to do.
Yeah.
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 Because I cannot stand for the stage management to announce like we're holding for lighting. Like our department hates that.
Sure.
We try to keep moving all the time. It drives me crazy to have a building full of labor like tapping their fingers while we're writing a light cue.
Right.
Because that's just
right.
a lot of money that's being spent. And I really like to keep moving forward and not spend too much time like writing while everyone's there in the room.
Yeah.
Also, like I'm super sensitive to chat and chatter around
sure.
me. And it's like if the room gets too chatty, then I can't work.
Yeah.
So I try to keep working so it keeps the chatter down.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, and that's super efficient.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a little bit about Sexaholix.
Yeah, dude.
Because you've worked on a bunch of these like you mentioned these solo shows, and I was wondering how that differs for you than say a big play like 39 Steps or obviously Spring Awakening or things like that. How much more are you able to be focused on? So it sounds like the person that is running this solo show.
Yeah, I used to do a lot of solo work.
Right.
I did Eve Ensler. These are names from yesterday. Eve Ensler, amazing Eric Bogosian.
Yeah.
Yesterday. John Leguizamo,
Right.
Andrew Smith.
Right.
And then I've done one-person plays with Kevin Bacon and David Morse. I love lighting one-person shows, especially the ones where they write the work. It's such a, as a designer, it's hard to make this big room focus on a single person.
Right.
So you have all these tricks to do that make it a little more kinetic, that it seems like more than one person, which often involves shadows, so that when they're moving, it's not just them moving, there are multiple shadows moving around them.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it just makes it bigger
Fuller
than one person, because then you can go down to one person, or you can expand to see multiple shadows.
Oh, that's super interesting.
Sexaholix, the director, Peter Askin, we just done Hedwig, and he's like, do you want to do this John Leguizamo thing? Come. And I said, yeah, sure. He said, come to the Beacon. John was running it, because it was kind of a stand-up piece.
Yeah.
John was running it at the Beacon, and it was so loud, it was packed, and it was thrilling. And it was just him. It was very much stand-up, down center home base and just sort of prowling the stage.
Mm-hmm.
And it was these out-of-town producers who had done Defending the Caveman, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
They'd had a successful run with that. And I said, because they wanted me to light it, I was like, what is the set? And they're like, we just want to use black masking. And John was looking really handsome at the time. I mean, quite beautiful. Don't get me wrong, he's still a handsome guy. But I mean, it's like, okay, we're not going to put this beautiful guy in this world of black masking. I don't know how to light that. And we're not going to do that for Broadway.
Right.
So I told the director, we're not going to do black masking. I have this idea. Let me come back to you. So I came back, and I thought there could be this light bulb curtain of light bulbs, this curtain of light bulbs that would force him down stage. It would be a big flat thing, but because it's glass, you could see through it.
Right.
So he wouldn't flatten out against it. And that could be the set. Then we wouldn't have to hang any masking around that.
Right.
And we got it bid, and they could afford it. And so we did that, and it was really beautiful.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Really
and
nice.
That show ran for a while, because then it transferred. And
we opened weeks after 9/11, which was cool, because it's a lot of New York stories.
Right.
And after 9/11, only locals were around for a while going to see shows.
Right.
So he was doing the show I'm getting chills. He was doing the show for locals about New York City, and it was really, really, really cool.
Yeah.
We toured it. It was on HBO. We brought it back for a run at the Broadway. And
Right.
Yeah, it did really well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's super cool. And it's just fascinating to me, because I never heard that concept, but that makes so much sense to make that stage fuller, because when you're taking up a big stage like that, no matter who you are, it's just that space is a lot to fill.
You're like one little person on a big stage.
Yeah.
In a Broadway house, which they aren't huge, but they're not small.
Right. There's something to taking up that space,
Yeah.
What were you going to say about getting and spending?
Oh, yeah. So, It wasn't a very good play. It was a great cast. Really, really, really good cast. Play was kind of iffy. I think Michael Douglas's wife optioned it for a Lifetime movie, which is kind of what it was.
Okay.
Because at night, all kinds of people would come, and the show just did not work. There used to be in the Wednesday matinees, the matinee ladies, they would show up with all these Macy's bags.
Interesting.
You could hear like these crunchy bags everywhere.
Interesting.
And so these ladies would come to the matinee of this show, and that show worked so well. They loved the show, and like every moment of the show worked for them.
Funny.
And they were so responsive to it. It's like, oh, there's the show right there.
That's so funny.
And those ladies kind of disappeared. But it's amazing that I've done another show, this Neil Simon play that was not great, but we had this one house that when you walked in the back, you could like feel the heat.
Oh.
Like I was like, am I imagining this? And the director walked in and he was like, whoa, could you feel that? I was like, yeah. They were just like buzzing this house. And every moment of that show worked that night. Like it played so well. And never again.
Wow. Funny.
So shows can change like that.
Yeah. And the life of them is very strange depending on they're very fragile. The life of a show is very fragile, and depending on the time of year versus time in the world versus, you know what I mean? And
that's kind of energy people are bringing in.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. I'm going to do this jump to Spring Awakening, which was, I mean, certainly groundbreaking, you know, this show. Talk to me about how long in advance you were involved in Spring Awakening.
Michael, right around the time of Sexaholix, for the year, I would run into Michael occasionally. This is like 2004, perhaps. And he'd say, hey, there's this thing, and I want to talk to you about it. And I'd be like, all right. And then months later, he's like, oh, there's this thing. It's Spring Awakening, and I want to talk to you about it. We're going to do it. I was like, okay. And I think they did a workshop at Lincoln Center. That Leah was so young then. Leah and some of the cast were in that. I did not see that. I was not a part of that.
Okay.
But then we were going to do it at the Atlantic, and Michael said, remember that thing I've been talking to you about? We're going to do it. So I saw Sexaholix. Betty Buckley and I went to see Sexaholix.
So funny.
And the lights popped off and everyone screamed. And then that light bulb curtain popped on. It was so amazing. And we both grabbed each other and said, isn't this exciting?
Yeah.
He said, that's the energy I want to bring to Spring Awakening. And he had also seen this light bulb show I did with Randy Eckert that I did the scenery and lights for. And he thought that was very beautiful. Anyway, so we designed it for this workshop that took place at Baruch, which was going to be a producer's workshop. So we staged it for like 3 weeks on this ground plan that we thought could work.
Oh, interesting.
I went to that every day. I took a stack of magazines, and I just like architecture and fashion magazines, and I would just sort of look over the magazines. And that I saw Bill Jones choreograph those numbers. Michael would grab my hand and say, come down the hall, Jonathan's going to sing a new song. And we'd go watch him sing a new song. And we made Act 1 there. We got a little into Act 2, but we presented Act 1 staged, Act 2 at music stands. And then we very, very quickly went into the Atlantic after that.
Wow.
And it was amazing. All kinds of people came to see that. David Bowie came to see Hedwig and loved it and produced one of our Hedwigs. But he came to see Spring Awakening at the Atlantic. And I love that the Atlantic was a small room. And I had these fluorescent tubes that went out into the house that were all these colors. And I love that David Bowie was sitting there in this color fluorescent light, like watching our show. But Calvin Klein, all kinds of people came to see that show downtown. It was quite starry.
Oh, they saw it before it even transferred, you're saying?
Yeah.
Wow.
They did.
Wow.
Tom Hollis asked me, like, who should come to our opening on Broadway? And I said, do you think David Bowie could come back? So they actually got word to him. And Tom's like, okay, well, we heard back from David Bowie. I was like, what did he say? And David Bowie said, why would I do that? We both laughed. And Tom said, that's kind of great, right? And I said, yeah.
That's funny.
Why would I come back?
But I want to ask you about this idea. When did the idea stem that this was going to be this, 19th century story but from the lens of the 21st century?
Yeah, I have. Yes. Well, Michael kept saying. I mean, it was very clearly set in the 19th century with these contemporary songs. Right here, we are in 2004, 2005, 21st century, 19th century. And Michael said it should be like when a kid is in their bedroom and they sing into a
Hairbrush or something?
hairbrush, yes, and they pretend to be a pop star and the doors close and no one can see them. And he said that's what the energy should be like, and that's what that inner world should be like. Michael sent me, I have this house built in 1845, this Carpenter Gothic house in central New York. Michael sent me this is early on, the MP3 file of the Lincoln Center workshop. So it was like in February, and I put it on my iPod player, and I was going to walk around our 19th century village and listen to this thing. It had just snowed a lot. It was like up to my knees in snow. So I walked through our 19th century village. All these homes were built like from 1850 to 1890 or so, like one after another. But I'm listening to these songs on this new technology, like listening to Leah sing the song and no one else could hear me. And I'm walking through the village and I walked to the park where Oscar Wilde spoke in the gazebo, and I'm listening to these secret contemporary rock songs. And then I get back to my house. And my house is again, like 1845 Gothic carpentry.
Yeah.
But all the windows glow with color light, which at the time was color fluorescent light.
Okay.
There's like pinks and blues and greens.
Right.
And I got to the house and I was like, this is what this musical is like. It's like these secret contemporary songs, but you live in the past. And it's the secret technology, and it's this mixing of like 19th century stuff with this 21st century lighting technology.
Right.
And where all that intersects is exactly what this show should be like.
Right.
So if I didn't have that house and hadn't made that trip to the snow with the iPod and the MP3 files, I don't know that I would have designed the same show. I don't.
Right.
And that show changed my life.
Right, of course.
And
I'm sure.
Just like a rocket ship.
I'm sure. I mean, you guys were a bona fide hit, like through and through, and and the town got such a hold of you.
Yes, and my work is so like on the radar in that show.
Yeah, for sure.
So
there's this one shot that I saw a picture of that is, and I'm not quite sure what number it was, but it's Jonathan and I believe it was Jonathan and Leah, and they're standing there. Center, and it just looks like the stars are all.
Oh yeah. The huge brick wall on Broadway. If you didn't light it, it would turn into void. But we had all these pretty little lights inside that pointed at the audience that were in 3 colors. I remember saying to Michael, I try never to say these things because it's so gross, but we were downtown at the Atlantic, and I said, if we move this. Because that was all brick walls. Like, we can't put anything in those brick walls. I was like, if we move this to Broadway, I can put beautiful little points of light in this wall. It could be really pretty.
Interesting.
I try not to ever say that if we move it to Broadway, but I did say that.
Well, because you don't want to set false expectations.
It's also just kind of grody. It's like.
When this goes to Broadway.
Yeah, or like, here, you can see you at the Tonys. It's like, ugh.
But they did see you at the Tonys,
Yes,
and you won your first Tony.
I did.
Doing Spring Awakening.
That's correct.
And you mentioned you had a funny Tony story from.
Oh yeah. So I've been nominated 9 times, and I usually know when I'm going to win, and I usually know when I'm not going to win. And those are like the funner nights because I wear comfortable shoes, and I've had so much fun on those nights. The nights that you win, I end up like, it's really intense.
Really?
Like the long period between being nominated and getting in, and then the long night, and it's like, it's a lot to go through for me. Anyway, I won, and I'm at Radio City addressing 6,000 people, saying the stupidest things. And I walk off stage, I've just won a Tony, and off stage is like no one. It's like, hello? Like you'd think like, that year there was no one. You'd think someone would be like, hi, congratulations, come with me, we're going to do this. And no one. I'm like, hello, someone, hello.
Right.
So I wander around backstage, and somehow I thought, like, I got to get back to the audience. I'll go up this staircase. I don't know where I thought I was going.
Sure.
Okay, so there was this huge chorus line event that night with like dozens and dozens of, I don't know, it was some anniversary, or I don't remember if chorus line was still running or what. But so I walked up the spiral staircase, 3 flights, and sitting on every step was a chorus line member in those gold finale outfits that Leone designed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, at every step, it just went on and on and on. And they had face makeup for Radio City, which is quite heavy and just like, it's like, that's what I thought show business would be like. It's really amazing. And everyone, because I'm a guy in a suit with a Tony, every one of them was like, congratulations, 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 congratulations. It was really, really, really cool.
That is so funny.
Yeah, it was neat. That it was super cool. Chorus line gold finale outfit.
So cool.
But also with that Radio City makeup.
That's amazing. That's so funny. That's so cool. But so can you, when you say that, because, you know, I'm sure that we've discussed this in the podcast before, but when you say that you know whether or not you're going to win or lose the Tony, you're able to get that because of the precursor awards, like the Drama Desk Awards and things like that. Is that how you know?
No, I usually can tell, like, when shows, it's just some equation. Like last year, we were doing Swept Away, which is so pretty, but Chess opened, not Chess, what's the show that won the Tony last year that was
Maybe Happy Ending?
No, it was in the St. James. It's the English show, and everyone's covered in blood at the end.
Sunset Boulevard.
Yeah, that show opened, and I just knew from the photos and from that review, like, oh, they're going to win the Tony this year. I can just tell, like, when shows open, like, oh, that show's going to win. So that was months and months and months before the Tonys arrived. But I knew that night, like, oh, they're going to win the Tony this year.
Funny.
I can just tell.
Yeah.
You can tell, like, if a show, you might be a great design, but it's oh, never mind, it's just so much. It might be attached to a show, it's not very popular. It's like they're going to have a harder time.
Oh,
a show that's, like, going to get Best Musical, that can sweep, like, awards.
That usually has, like, it starts to go
also,
throughout the
those
night.
shows are, like, don't get me wrong, often beautifully designed.
Of course, yeah.
You can just kind of tell.
Yeah.
1 year, I won 1 year, I won the next year, and the next year I was nominated twice.
Oh, wow. Oh,
yeah. So I knew, like, I'm not going to win.
This is hair next to normal.
Yeah. Like, I knew Billy Elliot was going to win.
Sure.
And I knew I wasn't going to win. And I had so much fun that night. It was so amazing to be nominated twice. And I had a really... I got home like at 6 in the morning.
Oh my God.
Well, that party at the Carlisle was really amazing. That was a whole night of that was a really remarkable night.
That's awesome.
Steven Spinella told me, because I've done quite a few shows with him, he said, when you know you're not going to win, those nights are a lot more fun than the nights that you know you're going to win. And he was so right.
Yeah. That's super interesting. And, Spring Awakening, I think, on a bunch of different levels, was just like a show that kind of set this vision for, I think, revolutionized what a look at a style that still exists. You know what I mean? A style of show, and also from a design perspective, when I look at the pictures, I'm like, oh, I recognize this. And I'm not quite sure that this existed in this capacity before. And that has to do with like the subtlety within those moments. I mean, the famous thing is the microphones, right? Like the microphones is such a big thing that's, iconic for Spring Awakening. But there's plenty in there that's super unique. And so when you mentioned that Spring Awakening changed your life, tell me about the after winning the Tony, the after Spring Awakening is on your resume now, how it changed your life.
I can tell you that. But just to jump back a hair, I've heard people say all those things. I've lived in the experience of Spring Awakening, so when people say like it changed all these things, I don't ever see or understand that myself.
Oh, funny.
I'm often like, I've heard that, and it's great to hear that, but I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, funny.
Yeah, because I just don't know what that means. I'm inside it, and I don't see that many shows, and
sure.
I haven't added all that up to figure out whatever.
I think it's like subsequently when you look at the design, well, this is like what I think is interesting about design, and I mentioned this to Beowulf, is like, because of the precedent that you guys set within that Broadway
So
production.
you've already lost me. I already don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I mean, like, what you guys did stylistically makes everyone subsequently in the regional theaters go, oh, I want to do that design. Oh, I want that blue light for Act 1.
Okay.
I think that's necessary. You know what I mean?
For sure.
You know?
I've seen a lot of things I do. Yeah.
Yeah, elsewhere. And sometimes that's a good or bad
Talking
thing.
about a bigger picture thing, and that's
Yeah.
where I'm like, okay, if you say so. Okay, how did that
It's probably best off that you don't know. You know, that's probably better off that you don't see it. You know?
Sure. How did that change my life? You know, I was not a kid. I moved to New York when I was like 33, and I had ideas, and I had ideas worked out already. I had already tested a lot of ideas with all these light bulbs and fluorescent tubes and things. I've been doing that stuff for years.
Yeah.
So Sexaholix, Spring Awakening, like I was ready. I was 40 something, 42, 43. I was ready to like, and Christine Jones, the set designer, and Michael were like open. They're like, what do you want to do? Because they were ready for me to do my thing.
Interesting.
And like made space for it. So I had ideas. I had ideas that were tested, and I had ideas I applied in that show.
Yeah.
Because I was like 40 something, you
Sure.
know?
Yeah.
How did that change my life? It was like here now. I made a nice living. I was doing all kinds of shows. I was doing a lot of plays and events and a lot of things, those staged things with Lonnie Price, those stage concerts like Candide and stuff like that. Now I'm being offered like new musicals.
Wow.
Like, I mean, I already had worked with Michael Greif, but like Next to Normal. Now it's just like the offers are coming in.
Yeah.
Which I say yes or no, but like Hair and just things started just coming in. You know, it's like, oh, and my fee, and people knew who I was. People really understood my work because I made it really clear in Spring Awakening what my work was.
Right.
And that's how it changed.
Yeah. Well, how do you identify then the shows that you're like, because you're getting, you know, kind of the kitchen sink thrown at you, how are you identifying the music?
Yeah, I can't. You have to, if you're a lighting designer, you have to listen to those songs a lot.
Yeah.
And if the show does well, you're going to listen to those songs a whole lot, because then you're going to go on a tour, and then you're going to do it in London, or, you know, you're going to do it all these places. So you're going to live with those songs like a really long time. For me, it's like, do I want to listen to this song 400 times? Like, it's like, do I like, if I have to really, really like the music, or the orchestrations or like, well, the instruments that play the music, or I have to really get the music, which is not always true. I just have to really like the music and want to live with the music for a big chunk of my life.
For sure.
Because there's something that's like, these people are great, and this would possibly good for my career. I've never done those kinds of jobs ever. Right. But these songs are awful, and I cannot listen to these songs once, much less like 300
for the next year.
300 times. Yeah.
Right.
So it's all about the music.
Yeah, that's super interesting. And that makes sense. I mean, the shows you've picked are have iconic scores.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that those are all great. I'm just saying that like they're a taste I understand, and they're songs that I could live with, especially Hedwig. Most of the shows I've done, I don't listen to ever again, but I listened to that American Idiot recording because that was a very special. I have a lot of friends in that show, and I made a lot of friends in that show. Right. And that recording sounds like a studio album. Yeah. And I love those songs. Mm-hmm. I listened to that, and I used to listen to Hedwig Off Broadway a lot until I couldn't. Sure. But all the other shows I've done, I can't. You'd have to tie me up and to play those songs. It would be torture.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. Before I move on from Spring Awakening, I just want to mention, because when we look at a show like that where it goes on tour and all this stuff, how are you adjusting the lighting? How does the lighting adjust on a tour versus Broadway?
Yeah, they have these amazing people who tour shows. I set the tour up in some wherever, and then I have a really good associate. And the associate usually goes to the first or second stop after we set it up. I usually split. Occasionally I would go to the first stop if it's like really high profile. Like I think Spring Awakening We started in San Diego, then moved to the current in San Francisco and ran for a long run there. So
Wow.
I did go to that run. But you set it up, and they have people who tour with it who like recreate it at every venue,
Very
and I
cool.
get a check.
Yeah.
And if there's trouble, my associate will go and fix trouble. But mostly they don't want you to come back because they don't want to pay you.
Sure.
But mostly that when they do it well, they do it really well. They just know how
Yeah.
to like get a crew together that knows how to do that, and they take good care of it, and they're used to doing it,
Right.
and they make it look good every day, every
Yeah.
night.
This is perhaps a silly question, but does the fact that the equipment has to tour and literally travel, does that change anything?
Somewhat. I had to learn how to do a tour because it's a little shocking at first.
Yeah.
Most tours on stage, if the set is somewhat similar to Broadway, the on-stage lighting is very similar. It's a little pared down, but you can kind of on stage make the same show you made on Broadway ish. In the house, because you're not hanging stuff on stage, stuff is hung on a truss in the truck, and they bring the truss in and they bring the
Right.
truss up, and all the lights are where they should be, and it's all kind of done. You can't do that in the house because they have very few positions. The positions are wildly inconsistent from venue to venue.
Interesting.
Sometimes, like at the Fox in Atlanta, like they have a little box boom that's like literally a block away, and the next
Wow.
theater could have like big box booms that are much closer, like the
Interesting.
Broadway theater.
What is
So
that, a box boom?
Oh, sorry.
No, that's
When
okay.
you're sitting and you're watching a show, hey, look at the show there. And there are these pipes up on the wall
Oh,
with
yeah.
lots of lights. That's a box boom. That's a
Interesting.
very traditional Broadway or American position.
Fixture. Gotcha.
Yeah. There's usually two of those in Broadway theaters.
Gotcha. And
They-
so you're saying at the Fox in Atlanta, it's
There's like one little pipe, and it is literally because the Fox is like Radio City. It's
Yeah.
a rather
Huge.
large venue.
Yeah.
That little pipe is like a block from the stage.
Oh my
So
gosh.
you pair the front of house like down and down and down and down and down.
Yeah.
And I just wrote a chapter about this in this book I wrote.
Yeah.
Until you get to the place of like, how on earth am I going to light this show? And that's the place where you then light the show from.
I see. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it took me a while to learn that, and not to, because the first show or two, it freaked me out.
Right. Well, yeah, and
Yeah.
also having to adjust that from house to house. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what those touring, you don't rely on front light so much on a tour somehow.
Right.
You keep it really simple, very general. You have follow spots. Might
Right.
have more follow spots than you had on Broadway.
Right.
Like next to normal on Broadway, I wasn't allowed to have follow spots because our producer very smartly kept the weekly low. So he said no follow spots. And we didn't. So we made a show without follow spots. But on the tour, I think we had two because you can, and the
Right.
contracts and whatever.
Different.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. It's
Crazy.
interesting. It's a skill.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to ask you what your team looks like on, if you had all the money in the world and the budget was all yours. What is your team, in theory, what does your full team look like?
Yeah, I have, and I'm going to refer to them as we sit in the theater. I have an associate who's usually an extremely experienced person. They keep the ship of the department moving every day. They do the plot, they draw the plot, they make the shop order, they talk to the electricians. I don't talk to the electricians.
Gotcha.
They make it so that all I'm really doing is saying, where does the purple light point, right? I'm
Gotcha.
just focused on the design, and they deal with so many things.
Gotcha.
They usually are a really good designer. One of my associates, Tim Reed, now is like unbelievably smart with new technology. The technology on Swept Away was incredible, and on Chess also.
Yeah.
That's all him.
Gotcha.
And he did the spots for Cher and has a beautiful, just impeccable eye for gel and a follow spot. So he
Interesting.
can make those women look so good. That's his work. Sitting next to him is the lighting assistant. That's usually a entry-level position, perhaps.
Okay.
Like when we did Funny Girl, I got this young fellow just out of NYU because I thought the spots wouldn't be too tricky, and I thought he could handle it, and it would be good for him. And he did a really good job. If it's a more complicated follow spot show and you have female leads, I'll get someone who's more experienced with color because these stars should look amazing, and women really care how they look, and the guys don't care as much. But the women will come over in the first day of rehearsal. They'll walk right up to me and say, "Hi, nice to meet you. Make me look good."
Right.
That happens every time. So I'll hire an assistant that's really good with gel and follow spots who can make the stars look good.
Interesting.
And they do all kinds of other things too that I'm unaware of. And then sitting next to me over here is the programmer who I usually know and have worked with before.
Gotcha.
And if it's a pop rock spectacle show, it could be someone who's done a lot of rock experience, like rock and roll,
Oh,
had a lot of rock and roll experience.
right.
I use this amazing rock programmer for SpongeBob, Cher, and Hedwig, who I met at Blue Man Vegas, and he's still programming rock and roll, but he's done like Michael Jackson and Aerosmith and Ozzy
Very cool.
Osbourne, and he worked on Showgirls the movie. And,
Wow, very cool.
yeah, I mean he knows rock and roll. So when like I only know so much about moving lights and rock and roll spectacle, and he's got like 3 bags full of ideas.
Right. Well, what is the job of a programmer exactly?
Well, programmer used to be when we had lights that didn't move, they were kind of button pushers. They were really quick button pushers. They were just doing like 45 at 32 and 35 at 45. It was numbers all day long.
I see.
Because you couldn't point a light, and you didn't have to have any ideas about where a light pointed and all that stuff. So,
Gotcha.
and that person could be in a booth somewhere. They could often not even be looking at the stage because they're just doing numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because there's so many moving lights, they have to be proactive. They have to know, like, be very present about where we're at in rehearsal at the time, so that it can be like ahead of me. Like, hey, I need to, and then they'll say like, oh, you want a special level in her? I'm already doing it. So it's that kind of thing. Like they know
Gotcha.
where we're at, they know what's going on, and they're a step ahead of me. And then they're always cleaning up on their own, cleaning up focus, because you have moving lights and you point it to people over there, and
Right.
maybe they're consistently standing not in the same spot every time. So this programmer will like move the lights to where people are really going to stand, and then a pop rock spectacle programmer will layer and layer and layer and layer in accents and
Right.
spectacle and stuff like
Right.
that.
Okay,
Clean
gotcha.
up. So it's much more proactive than it used to be. It
Yeah.
is not a button pushing position anymore.
Right.
What's different about me is in 2010, I left the headset. Lighting designers sit in this heinous chair all day in this big
Yes.
space and are tethered to a headset. I left that headset in about 2010. I haven't been on headset since then. The programmer used to sit, often they sit in the front of the mezzanine because it's a person who doesn't want to be down around where the excitement is. I
Right.
try to find programmers that are really excited to be down around where the director and everyone is. I move them down right next to me.
Interesting.
They're right there, and I sit pretty much on their butt board with them. So I just talk to them about ideas using my hands, pointing. I have a laser pointer. We have magic sheets on the console. And I'm never on headset anymore. It's amazing.
Why? How come?
Why? How
Why?
come?
Why? Yeah. Why?
Oh my God, it was just like the frustration. 2 reasons why. The frustration, like some other director would come to talk to me, and there's all these buttons you have to push because there's all these different people in headset. And it's like, hold on, no, I'm not talking to you. No, like, no, I'm not. Hold on, I'm talking. Will you shut up? It's like I just immediately am like at the frustration level.
Right.
And you're
Right.
in that seat all day long.
Yeah.
Now I'm like sitting here, but also I'm on my feet a lot. We take a little chair out. This is Broadway. We take a chair out here, so I'm often standing behind the programmer or standing behind my associate,
Gotcha.
or I'm roaming around the room. I go over and I talk to the set designer about whatever, or a future project, or just hi.
Yeah.
Because these are all friends, people I know really
course.
well. Talk to the set designer. I'll maybe go say hi to the stage manager. On some shows, we're rolling our eyes at each other, saying, "What are we doing? I don't know. I can't. This guy, I don't know." I'll go over and talk to the director and the director's associate and the choreographer and the costume designer, tech people. I won't talk to projection so much because they're always busy and they don't have time to talk. But I might turn
Right.
around and say hi. But now I've got time to go around the room and talk about ideas,
Right.
which is great. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm just not on that headset.
You're not.
In
Yeah,
that
you're not confined.
chair. Yeah, and you're not sitting 12 hours a day. I'm up
Right.
on my feet, so it's great.
Yeah. That is great. I want to discuss with you a little bit about 39 Steps.
Yes.
Which was your second Tony.
Yes.
And I want to, it's funny. I imagine you never actually, even though you said like you know when you're going to win and when you might lose and whatnot, but I wonder if you would look at a project like that or the subsequent Tonys that you've won and go, okay, I think this is why I won.
No, I
this
could
is
never. I mean, you never even know if these things are going to go to, like, well, that I knew was Broadway.
Yeah.
No, I never know before. I mean, that's like too much. Like,
Sure.
That's like, oh, this could really change my. I try to have zero expectations. About,
yeah.
This could really change my life. Like,
Right.
I'm not gonna.
Right.
No, I never. After I've made it and kind of see what else is around, that's when I kind of know, like,
It's only in comparison.
yeah, and that show. Oh, never mind. So, do you want to hear about 39 Steps? Yeah. So that's like a show I got through my agent. He was friends with the director. This Mariah Aiken is such a nice lady, and she's she's a film actor too.
Oh, cool.
She was in A Fish Named Wanda and a lot of other films. Really neat, posh English lady, and the show was running in London, and she's like, "Come stay with me in that Kensington, like a nice area, I believe it's called, and go see the show. Then we'll talk about it."
Yeah.
So the show was running, it was a big hit, and I went to see it, and I was so depressed because I thought the show looked great. Like, I was really, 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 really down, and I couldn't be too down because I'm staying in her home. But she could see I was really down. I was like, "What do you want me to do? Like, this person's lit this show really well. I think the show looks great. Like, what do you want? Like, why do you need me?" And she's like, "Well, we want to make it Broadway, and we want more." And the more part I knew is like, well, I actually have a lot of ideas about, like, more. Like, we could do all these shows on the curtain and texture things and moving light things. And I think we could do a lot more, actually.
Interesting.
So that part I understand. And I actually do have ideas about that. But what's crazy is we made it at the American Airlines, and every element had already been put into place. Because usually you're like, let's start the sound here, and that sound cue doesn't work.
Right.
We should do the lights. Every beat between sound and performance and staging and scenery was done. It was like going into a Disney animatronics thing where everything is done.
Yeah.
And I'm just layering my lighting on top of it.
Right.
These beats that are already figured out and established. I've never done that before.
Yeah.
Because you're figuring it all out at the same time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was kind of wild that you're lighting a show that already exists.
Right.
But I thought it looked nice. And,
Yeah.
it traveled everywhere.
Yeah, and it's still done all the time, that show.
Went to 3 Broadway theaters.
Wow.
Yeah, we went to the Court and then over to what used to be the Hayes. Then we went down to downtown, and then it toured and did really well as a tour.
Yeah. Do you have a preference of theater
I made
on
a lot
Broadway?
of money off that show.
Oh, good.
But I did. For a play, it was like, all right. Yes, sir.
Do you have a preference of Broadway theater for any reason that you've worked in?
No, the Imperial Theater was an amazing space. The theater's a little tired, and they're about to revamp it.
Oh.
But the space itself, it took me a few days to notice this. The space itself is really special because it's a lot of seats. They don't occupy a lot of space. There's not a lot of. Are you okay? There's not a lot of space above the up above the proscenium. A lot of those theaters have like a volume of space up there that just like sucks up energy. It's sort of compact. The people in the back aren't real high. They're not looking down on the action. Everyone's like in this nice volume of space, looking into this big like cube of space that's also quite large. So everyone's kind of like sharing the same space in that theater.
Totally.
You're not a huge theater looking to a smaller space.
I see.
It's really interesting. Like every seat in that theater has like immediate access into the space.
Interesting.
In a very special way, I think.
Yeah.
That was cool. It's like if I could only work there forever, that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
But no, I don't know. I've done lots of shows at visited lots of those theaters. I've done 2 shows at the Ambassador, which is where Chicago's been playing
Right.
for 1,000 years.
Yeah.
I did 2 shows before Chicago was there, a musical and a play.
Funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. I was going to ask you about where did I want to go next? Well, I think that what I was curious about is how much the dimensions of a theater, whether it be on Broadway or not, and we discussed this a little bit in regards to touring houses, but how much the dimensions of a theater affect the work that you're doing and how important it is to know that beforehand.
Are you talking about the actual dimensions of this? What are you talking about?
I'm talking more about like the dimensions of the proscenium or the also mixed with the house and how big the space is as a whole.
Yeah. You have to make a show that fits the stage.
Right.
So you have to measure the stage. But yeah, I mean, you want the show to be able to hit that volume of space, Those touring houses are much bigger, so you need to like send out a little more like oomph out into those houses.
Yeah.
Which when we do these rock things, like is a little more like spectacle.
Yeah.
Frankly, American Idiot at the St. James, we might have had a stick up our ass a little bit with how we presented it, because on the road we got a little looser and you got a little more rock and roll, and that show sold on the road, and those audiences loved that show.
Yeah.
It got a lot more flashy and
how so?
I just put a lot more blinders into around the set that like really push back at those big halls.
Oh,
it just got a little bigger and a little more rock and roll.
Gotcha.
I thought for the St. James, the restraint that we used would make those dark stories work well there.
Right.
Which perhaps they did, but I think also people might have been bored. I don't know.
I don't think anyone was bored by American Idiot.
I'm very glad to hear that. All right. I don't mean bored, but I thought...
And you got your Tony for it.
I did.
Your third Tony.
Jules Fisher said I won the Tony because of my use of restraint. But I didn't always think that the restraint was admired by the audience. I thought they were a little like, can't this be... They wanted to see the Madison Square Garden show and not the Metropolitan Opera.
Well, how do you balance that? I mean, like...
I think you have to do what you think is right for the show.
Right
for the stories. And that show had really dark stories, and it can't just be the Madison Square Garden Green Day show, It's got to be something that lets those dark stories, like, resonate.
Yeah. Which is a thing similar to a lot of those, like, Cher Show and Beautiful...
And most of the shows I do are very dark-toned.
Right.
Have a lot of music, but they're dark stories. Which, what is Oklahoma? But like the darkest of stories, American musicals do have dark stories in them. But Next to Normal, Spring Awakening, those all have like dark undertone, Swept Away.
Yeah, very dark. Well, I'm going to juxtapose that really quick with something. I'm going to make a jump to SpongeBob here.
Oh, okay.
Because SpongeBob was a show that I remember walking in there and already from the get-go being transported.
Yeah.
And how much of that was a conscious effort to say, okay, we're going to transport you into a completely different fantasy type world here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that experience on SpongeBob started from when you walk into the lobby.
Right.
We changed light bulbs from when you step off the street all the way through to the entire building. We changed the light bulbs and then inserted lots of neon like flowers in the lobby because we had an extra flower, and then you get into the theater, and that's the Palace Theater, which is a pretty big theater.
Huge, yeah.
Every inch of real estate in that entire theater was occupied by projection or sound or all these lighting effects. I had bubble machines and confetti machines and fans to make all that stuff move around, like for every zone of audience. So that stuff was like in every corner of the room. Lighting for the audience, lighting for the walls and the theater, and lighting for there was like nowhere left to hang for all the departments, anything, when we had finally finished.
Right.
Even like you would go like back under the thing, is like, could we hang anything? And it was like, oh, there's already something there. Like,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah. And then, well, I should ask too, like how much of the show, the TV show, inspired all of that in terms of imagery?
All of it. I mean, people know the show and you
Yeah.
want to present that on stage in that style of animation that it is or storytelling it is. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's all there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about the Cher Show, because the thing that I wanted to mention to you about the Cher Show that I found really interesting was those two huge lighting walls that kind of turned in and faced down stage.
Yeah.
I remember being blown away when that happened. But
good.
also they were I think used economically, in the sense that like you adjusted them and it created an entire different scenario for whatever purpose or era that we were in.
Yes.
How much did the era of Sonny and Cher versus subsequent eras of Cher affect your lighting?
Oh, totally. Some shows I start a plot or start the design of the show by defining the quality of light. What is the quality of light? Or what are the contrasting qualities of light?
Right.
The Cher Show starts like in the early 60s with this incandescent era, moves through the 70s. It's still incandescent, big incandescent light bulbs. I knew I'd got to have that light bulb like on the set everywhere. And then it moves all the way through to like the contemporary Megamix,
Yeah.
So that's very contemporary concert lighting of a Megamix kind. So then what are the instruments that can make those two different kinds of light, So then you then you select those stuff, and that then defines the plot. So yeah, I mean that wide range of eras is very important in making that show.
Yeah, and two, with talking about,
it's funny you talk about those big walls, because we spent like 75% of our budget on those big walls, and I am convinced that audiences don't notice anything, that their audiences are pretty much asleep. Always. And somehow the information is coming to them even though they're asleep. I just don't think people notice anything.
That's funny.
And I thought finally like that people didn't notice those walls, because you made them out of town. They were so crunchy and loud, so you kind of were forced to see them. But in New York they were so quiet, and I was like, oh, we've spent our budget on this thing that I'm not sure people are even noticing. So I'm very glad to hear that you noticed that.
Absolutely. It was the thing that I remember walking out talking about. And then I had known someone in the show, so I had the privilege of going on stage afterward and seeing them up close. Big. And I was like, whoa.
That was a hefty wall.
Yeah.
And it spun, and they had like...
Yeah. Well, how much of that was collaboration with the scenic designer too, to say, hey, this is what this, was that an idea? And how often is this, I should say, where the scenic designer presents this to you and says, hey, this is what I'm thinking, versus you?
Yeah, we're all in those meetings. We had a lot of writers' room meetings, and then it turned to design, and we went through some really interesting designs, and we landed on that interesting design. And how did that happen? It just did. But we're all there together, like figuring that out
and collaborating
and realizing it at the same time. And or Christine and Brett would come back and say, hey, we've come up with maybe these walls, but it's all being developed as a group. Again, it's the director and me. I'm the lighting designer, Elbi, and the set designer.
Yeah.
Which we had 2 set designers then.
Gotcha.
And so we're developing all that as a group, like from meeting to meeting to meeting.
Interesting.
And then there's a lot of talk, and the projection designer, Daryl Maloney, was there. There's a lot of talk about like, hey, if we could do these panels, one side could be, I think it was mirror, black mirror.
Yeah.
It was pretty. And the other side could be, was it dark mirror? Black mirror sounds so pretty. And the other side could be these video LED panels. So we spent a lot of time talking about what that could be, trying materials. Yeah. But that we do as a group. SpongeBob, David Zinn designed the scenery and the clothes for SpongeBob. David kind of works by himself for a while before he like lets me in. But he really we're good friends, and he really knows like what turns me on and what I do well, and what I would like to do or what I would be challenged by. So it's like I'm in the room, but I can go to the gym instead. I have to be there. And
Sure.
he'll show up with like a set that's kind of far along. Funny Girl is the same. It's kind of far along that I really respond to. So I haven't been with him through all those meetings,
Gotcha.
and it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I am not sure I ever realized the degree of which you guys are all collaborating. Because, yeah, and it makes sense, of course, but it's just something that I've always wondered where I'm like, oh, I wonder if you had joined the project a year ago and the scenic designer joins the project 9 months ago, how that can even affect things.
With a new musical, you kind of have to do that.
Yeah.
With an existing musical, you don't have to do that. With an existing opera, with the things Michael and Christine and I do, whoever designs them, we all meet as a group early on. But plays, like I said, plays with directors, they'll often meet one-on-one with a set designer, and
Sure.
then they'll say like, hey, we've designed this set, you should go take a look at it.
Gotcha.
Which I hate working that way. Like, I feel like there are things might have to say about what the show could be like, and those shows never like get the best out of me, get my best work.
I see.
I just feel like a gun for hire. It's like
I see.
I go to look at the model, and it's like, well, what do you want me to do? Like light this? And they're like, well, we thought you might. and my work never looks so good.
Interesting.
Yeah. I have I have things I want to do on a show, and I like to make it known up front. Like,
Right.
Yeah. And it could be a small thing.
Yeah, right. Let's discuss Hedwig next, because I want to ask you the big question that I want to ask you about in regards to Hedwig is how much it changed from the original to the Broadway production.
Oh, well, let's see. I knew John Cameron Mitchell. Can I tell you that first?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So again, I right out of Cal Arts, I was the resident set design assistant at the Mark Taper Forum in 1986 and 87.
Yeah.
And I met John in a show in 87, and we became friends. And the night I met him, he was in the show, and I don't think we were kind of the same age. We weren't talking, so he was up there and I was out here. There was a cast party at the director's house that night, and I went, and it's the day that Andy Warhol died, February 87. And we were sitting around a coffee table on the ground, because that you're always sitting on the ground in theater, on the floor. And the actors were like, who's Andy Warhol? Who's Andy Warhol? Who's Andy Warhol? Which, to be fair, like Andy Warhol was not the big artist he is now. He had some ups and downs later in his career. And John and I were trying to tell them, and they were like, who's Andy Warhol? And John and I kind of like side-eyed each other, like, oh my God, these people. And we became friends, like starting then. So we'd see each other in cities or around different cities and go dance and stuff. Anyway, John called me in 86, late 86, and said he's been developing this project. And Mistress Formica, who's this drag queen that I dated, who ran Squeezebox, which is where John presented the character Hedwig at, he asked Mistress, like, who should design the lights? And Mistress said, Kevin Adams. And John's like, I know him. So John called me up and said, we have this character and we have these songs, and we're going to present this thing at the West Beth. They've rented this space in like the May and June of 87.
Wow.
And it was on a set. John had this idea to do it on the set of a TGI Fridays, which is very funny. He got a lot of jokes out of that.
Yeah.
And it looked like a TGI Fridays at the West Beth.
That's
and
funny.
All these guys came to see it that would go to Squeezebox, who wanted to see like rock and roll drag queens sing
Interesting.
rock and roll.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't a big audience for that across America, we found out soon
Right.
after. So the show was kind of similar, except the show ended. There's a show called Midnight Radio that Stephen wrote. We didn't have that song. The show, all the songs were Stephen's, except the show ended with John singing You Light Up My Life. He'd sung it in German. And John, you can't tell this from the album, John is a belter. He has a big Broadway voice. And he would belt that song. I'm getting chills. He would start it in German, and then he would sing it in English, and it was huge, and it was amazing. And that's kind of what people talked about when they left.
Interesting.
People would talk like, oh, Hedwig's cool and blah, 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 but that You Light Up My Life, oh my God, because it was a knockout.
Wow.
So we ran for like 6 or 7 or 8 weeks, and we were like, okay, we should do it again. Commercial run. David Binder, the producer, was kind of involved. He found all these venues that, as a group, we all looked at.
Interesting.
I was in a cab with John Cameron Mitchell and Stephen Trask and me and David Binder. We were squeezed into one cab, and the stage manager and producers and director were in the other cab. And we went to all these venues,
Yeah.
and they were not great because you had to share the space with other events. And we were like, ugh. So David's like, I know one more place, and we're all going to meet there next week. So we all like met at the Jane Street Hotel, which was a rundown, like a single room occupancy hotel.
Uh-huh.
And there was like this little room inside. Is this just too detailed?
No, not at all.
There was this little room inside with a little parquet floor and a little tiny stage and really nice wallpaper. Like the room had been redecorated because the preacher's wife had shot there recently.
Oh.
There was this really pretty blue wallpaper with little gold stars that we actually recreated and put into the set. And we all really liked the space. Now, it was all the way at the end of Jane, like at the river. And this was winter. We were going to open the show like in the middle of February. Now, I don't know what your experience of going over the Hudson River is in January, February, and March. It's rather intense.
Yes, I imagine.
Yeah. That wind and that cold like comes right off the river for a few blocks. And the meatpacking district was the meatpacking district. There were like hookers at night and some delis and meatpacking.
Right.
So like,
right.
are people going to venture to the end of Jane Street? That was a huge gamble.
Right.
But we made this little show. It was a very modest light show. It wasn't a big light show. And we couldn't get the rights to You Light Up My Life. John didn't know how to get to that guy who had a Broadway musical written about his life. Bridges, the guy who wrote the Dr. Pepper jingle. In My Life was the musical, I think. He was a songwriter. But John was friends with Larry Kramer, and Larry Kramer contacted that guy and said, can they use You Light My Life? And John called me. He's like, we got the rights, but it's like $500 a show, which is like a lot of money a week. Yeah. So we gave Stephen Trask the assignment to write a new song. Stephen was like, it's a big assignment to replace this big song.
Right.
And one day Stephen's like, okay, I think I have the song. Everyone come to this Midtown studio and I'm going to play the song for you. So we all went to this little studio, and there were these bleachers up real high around Stephen, and we all kind of sat up and looked down at him. And Stephen's a little shy, especially with a new song. And he played his song and he kind of mumbled parts of it. And it was very much in like the David Bowie does Bob Dylan mode.
Interesting.
And he kind of like meh parts. And we all kind of looked at each other and it was like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah.
So what's cool is now we had a show that was only with Stephen's songs. It's much more rigorous because that's all his work. And it's going to end with this other thing that then became like a huge anthem of Lift Up Your Hands. And it actually worked pretty well. So that's what that was like. Very modest lighting show, but everyone came to see that show. It ran for 2.5 years.
Wow.
During the week, it didn't,
2.5 years.
Yeah. It didn't sell. It wasn't like sold out every night. There's this press guy that kind of kept the show running, but weekends did really well, and people came back often, and the stars came to see that show. David Bowie came, and then he really liked it. He told John, you got it right. And he actually was a big investor in our LA production. Stephen Sondheim came.
Wow.
Yeah, and I lived near the theater, and I would often go over and watch there's a big stack of songs early in the show, and then there's monologues and songs, and I just like 5 songs like right up front in the first 35 minutes. And I would often go over and watch John do that. I would stand back in the corner and watch the first chunk of show.
Yeah.
Because John was amazing. John could be amazing in that show.
Right.
I mean, like electrifying. And it was, I was just curious, like who was there. But the night Sondheim was there, I went and I totally creepered. I watched him watch the entire show. And he chuckled and chuckled and chuckled. He seemed to have a very good time.
Yeah.
But it was amazing who came to that.
Yeah.
and all the Hedwigs we had. But then we did it in Boston, Chicago, London, LA,
Wow.
and we could not give those tickets away because you'd say, which is the way we talked about it at the time, it's a rock and roll drag queen, and you'd get halfway through that and people's eyes would just glaze over. Like people were not ready for drag performers to do live rock vocals.
Interesting.
You just like here in New York, they were going to Squeezebox, and there was like a culture of it. And not to say there wasn't a culture of it across the U.S., but and some of those productions weren't produced very well. We didn't have very good venues.
Right.
That L.A. production was on Hollywood Boulevard at the Fonda, and Michael Cerveris was in it, and it was absolutely thrilling. It was such a good show. We couldn't give those tickets away, so it didn't do very well. And New York closed, and then the movie came out. And that movie is what made Hedwig popular nationally.
Right.
The movie and then local productions
Right.
of like performers that people knew really well. Those productions did really well.
Mm-hmm.
RuPaul's Drag Race started. They did songs from Hedwig. You'd have
Wow.
Hedwig performers on Hedwig. By the time we got to Broadway in 2014 and opened the doors, those houses were packed. They were sold out. People had this amazing energy they brought in.
Right.
They knew the songs.
Wow.
They kind of knew who Hedwig was.
Yeah.
And they were ready for it.
Yeah.
But that was not the case in 99.
Right. It took a long road to build that.
Yeah. Totally.
I mean, you're talking like a 20-year road to
Correct.
Broadway, you know?
Yeah. And we didn't know. We did it off Broadway. And I'd call David Binder like once a year. He called me or twice a year, and we'd say like, we should really do this on Broadway. And then it's like, who's going to do it? And it's like, we didn't know. He didn't know. But every 9 months, we'd call each other like, I mean, this went on for like 15 years. Like, we should really do this on Broadway. We should really do this. And then finally, one day he called, he's like, Kev, we have a Hedwig. It's Neil Patrick Harris, and he's committed to doing it, and we're going to do it. So amazing. And that is my favorite show because I love the songs. And it was such an amazing group of chatty, funny kooks that made the Broadway production.
Yeah.
And it was really fun.
Yeah.
And funny. And I think that's my best work because by that time, I really understood the show. And I'd soaked into glam rock for 15 years just for fun.
Right.
And I had ideas.
Right. Right. And how, so then speaking to that, how much did it, evolve from all the subsequent versions of it?
So as we, like I said, like the Jane Street Theater was quite small. I had a few like simple ideas sort of sketched in. As we did those shows in London and Boston, and those were larger venues.
Right.
And I had more real estate. So I started to lay in like bigger, like more muscular versions of the shows we had at the Jane Street.
Right.
And I started to develop other things. So I got to a good place where like, I can sort of see how this is starting to work for a larger house with some of these Jane Street ideas. Those better ideas are what I then took to Broadway.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Very cool. That's awesome. And it's an amazing story in the sense that like it's really this like true underdog story, that show,
It is, right?
Yeah.
You do a Broadway show. After every performance, you have a production meeting.
Yeah.
Right? And it's quick because the doorman wants you out of the theater. And in the old days, people would hang out and do drugs and play poker all night, but you're not allowed to do that anymore. They want you out of the theater at 11. So we'd have a production meeting every night. Neil Patrick Harris would attend that production meeting every night.
Wow.
He's like an athlete. He could have performed that show at 8 and then again at 11:15. Like, he could have kicked ass both times.
Yeah.
He's just that, like, that's much of an like a theater athlete.
Right.
He came to the production meetings because he had a lot to say about the show around him, and he had a lot of really good ideas. So he was at every production meeting. But Michael did ask him one night, like, Neil, why are you here? Like, because I'm telling you, no one else ever does that.
Right.
I have never experienced that, ever. But he was at every one of those production meetings, and he's like, well, I just like to commune. And we all really enjoyed being together. Like I said, it was a really funny group of chatty, smart kooks that made that show, and we would just make each other laugh.
Yeah.
It was funny.
That's
It
awesome.
was a good show.
That's awesome. That's really special. Yeah, that's super special. And what happened after that? After that Broadway production, it went elsewhere, didn't it?
We ran with a lot of Hedwigs. We had a really successful tour that we started in San Francisco. Yes, with Darren.
That's what I thought.
And Lena.
Yeah.
And once a week.
Darren Chris, yeah.
Yeah. Darren was beautiful in that show. Michael Hall, is that his name? Yeah.
Michael C. Hall?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done shows with him. I know that's his name. Yes. Michael was so exquisite in Hedwig, and he loved us, and we loved him. He was so,
Andrew Reynolds did it at one point.
Andrew was in it.
Yeah.
But Michael was beautiful. And Andrew was amazing in that show too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
super
us.
cool.
But anyway, on the tour, Lena played Hedwig like one show a week. So that was pretty cool.
Wow.
Cool.
Lena
Hall.
Lena Hall
won a Tony for playing Yitzhak on Broadway. She did a tour with Darren. Yeah. But one night a week, she played Hedwig.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah, to someone's Yitzhak. And then I think Darren did LA and Lena did LA, and then someone else stepped in and they toured the country. It did pretty well.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. The story of Hedwig means a lot to a lot of people as well. So, it's a fascinating
don't
story.
I know it? Yeah. I mean, I saw it up close, those fans.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it does.
Yeah.
People, we would do the show and people would be sobbing. Like the house lights would come up and the audience would clear up, but there'd still be like some people like sitting just like,
absorbing, having
a breakdown.
Wow. Wow.
Really going through it.
Yeah.
Not a lot of those, but regular.
Yeah. That's wild. That's super interesting. I want to do jump to real quick to Beautiful Noise, because there's something specific I want to ask you about in Beautiful Noise.
Yeah.
And it is at the very top of the show. Big hook of the hook on the, because there's no true opening number.
Yeah.
Literally, it starts with a scene.
Yeah.
That is Neil, current Neil in therapy, and what happens a couple of times is we kind of flash and then Neil's in a completely different outfit.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if you could speak to the idea of the fact that in truth the lighting is the thing that makes that trick kind of work to its fullest effect.
Yes.
And what about it, without, I guess, spilling too much, what about the lighting enhances a trick like that?
Well, there's a lot of magic in that first part of that opening number.
Yeah.
I mean, there are tearaway clothes that are attached to wires that have special chairs, that there are people behind that are like, the lights go down, they're in a new outfit.
Right.
The lights go down, they're in a new outfit.
Yeah.
And then they start the scene, and then people appear like out of nowhere, like right next to a chair, because there was all this black masking. There's this amazing material. There's this black fabric that Harry Potter uses a lot of. That's a UK material, I think. It's like a magic material, but it's expensive. It really absorbs light. And I mean, it really absorbs light. You can stand like a few feet away and it just looks like void.
Wow.
It's crazy how good that fabric is. We had all these panels and the tubes covered in that were right in front of the audience's eyes, but you couldn't see them because there was no light on them. Because we had this amazing illusionist come in and help us do that.
Sure.
And because that was torture. It's the kind of lighting I hate because I'm not so precise and it drives me crazy to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I like to just throw the light around, but he put up with me and we made a very nice illusion and all that.
Yeah.
But it took a huge amount of time.
Yeah, I'm sure. And really effective. I mean, the audience were making had audible reactions to that moment every night.
It's wild. Like as that number's going on, as everyone's appeared and they're all downstage and they're doing their thing for Pippin. Behind them, stagehands are like moving. There's all these panels and tunnels that are like sneaking out at the same time.
Interesting.
We're taking that to Australia in July. It's going to tour
cool.
for a year.
That's awesome.
And it's touring the US. And I mean, that show is selling the tickets.
Yeah.
We're going to put a new tour out in the fall.
I was going to say the non-union tour is going out in the fall. Yeah.
And I expect that will sell well. And I think we're going to start a UK presentation and or
Wow.
tour.
Wow.
People want to pay money to come sing that song.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And they certainly did. I mean, it ran on Broadway for 2 years in and of itself, I think,
It
right?
did run for a
If
while.
not longer, yeah.
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 I cannot tell you how well that show sells on the road.
Yeah.
Like, it sells so well.
Yeah, I'm sure. And I want to talk to you about Swept Away. Something about Swept Away that I wanted to discuss was kind of like this idea of light within darkness, because that show was so dark,
Yes.
figuratively and literally speaking, you know.
Yes.
And so much of it takes place within that confined space, and has this looming quality going on throughout the show of that something bad is going to occur.
Yes.
And because it takes place in that center stage and it's like right there, it was so, something about it was just so enticing, and that
Yeah.
and the lighting within
You
it.
talking
is so
about
enticing.
the second part where they're in the boat?
Yes.
Yes, all true.
Yeah.
Can I back up a hair?
Yeah.
Michael and I in 2012 had gone to the Metropolitan Opera.
Right.
Guys, this is like just the beginning of such a long story.
No,
to
you're
see
good.
Billy Budd.
Uh-huh.
There were these productions in the 70s when the city was broke and the Metropolitan Opera was broke. They did these productions with scenery in the middle of the stage that they put a huge amount of black masking around that they had in stock and was cheap.
Yeah.
Now you don't have to have all these drops and all this stuff.
Right.
Two of those productions are really famous: Dialogue of the Carmelites and Billy Budd. And they bring them back every 10 years or so.
Oh, interesting.
So in 2012, because Michael and I had been doing shows at the Met, we went to see Billy Budd. Big ship in the middle, in a narrow palette, opera lighting in a narrow palette, all these men in costumes in a narrow palette, with this black void around.
What do you mean by a narrow palette?
Like, it's a really narrow range of color.
Interesting.
Let's say. Like, the ship is a narrow range of color. It's just browns and browns
Interesting.
and browns.
Okay.
The costumes are all like blues and grays and grays and blues and a little red. But the palette is really narrow. And it's surrounded by this big black surround.
Yeah.
Because New York City in 1977 is broke.
Interesting.
And the Metropolitan Opera was broke at that period.
Interesting.
So now it's 2021. It's right before COVID that we're going to do Swept Away. And I read it and I said to Michael, this should look like that Billy Budd at the Met. Like, it should be a thing, like the ship, but it should have this big black surround, because Broadway musical, like, this should not look like other Broadway musicals. It should look different, and it should look, of course, darker.
Right.
So we kept talking about that. At Berkeley, we had this cinder block wall, and we couldn't afford a background, so we painted the cinder block wall black, and it looked like a black wall. And at Arena Stage, we still couldn't afford a background, and because we had talked about all these different drops and stars and moons and things, but we hung black masking from their stock there because we didn't have the money. So we got to Broadway and we finally just decided to jump in with this black surround. And that then made the lighting for me like clearer, because I always thought like this should look like old-fashioned opera lighting.
Right.
Which before COVID was not so old-fashioned. After COVID, it seemed like a million years ago. Like gelled Licos and gelled Fresnel and very painterly. And that's what we did. But there was a huge amount of new technology in that show, too, including the technology of tracking those 4 people in that spinning boat.
Right.
That's all technology and lighting from 2024.
Wow.
That is from that moment. So it's cool. The big boat is from all this stuff that's been discontinued.
Yeah.
Park hands that haven't been made forever. That's how 70s concerts were lit.
Interesting.
This other lighting device that they stopped making while we were doing Swept Away.
Wow.
All this gel I wanted to use was being phased out like as we were making Swept Away, because the incandescent era is in the rearview mirror and all those things were like going away. Right. So that part's like very much from the past.
Interesting.
From the opera in the 80s or 70s. But that part where they're stranded with the boat, that's all new technology. LED lighting, LED lighting units, and tracking technology from today.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
That's super cool. Yeah, and it's funny. It's like, it's strange how you don't think that those things will necessarily assist you in telling the story, but they really do in an almost forward way.
They really do. And there's 2 more things that get us in the chest from that.
Yeah.
We used, finally, you can light humans with LED light. That's like only happened in the last like minute. There's this so boring. There's this
No.
lime green LED chip that they started putting into LED lighting units, and you can make now warm tones that are bright. So you can light humans with bright white light that's warm or tints of warm
Yeah.
that actually looks good on people, and you don't have to use gel.
Wow.
That's amazing. We wanted to prioritize using that in chess. The second thing we did in Swept Away, we had this rig that had no fans in it. Like Broadway rigs have really loud fan noise that fills the room. Like we have production meetings after the show, and during that production meeting, the electrician shuts the power off to the stage, and you can hear that sound like drop in the room, and it's so depressing because it's like that's what we're living with and just putting up with all the time. We had zero fan noise in Swept Away because we had this rig of new LED lighting equipment that made no fan sound. So when we put chess together, my associate Tim and I, and Michael Mayer and John Shivers, the sound guy, because we loved that there was no fan for Swept Away.
Right.
Because in these dark stories, when people were just talking and you have silence, you hear silence.
It was silence. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Like we had never experienced that in a Broadway theater on a musical. You
Right.
can do that with a play, but in a musical, we had never experienced that.
Right.
So I told Michael, like, we're never going back. Like, we're never going back to that fan sound again.
Right.
So that's what we prioritized in chess was the LED lime green chip, so I could light humans with LED, and having no fans. And there's no fan noise in that Imperial Theater, and it's amazing. And that chess plot is 100% LED. There's no gel in that show at all.
Whoa.
So that's very much a plot. That's very
Current.
much from now.
Yeah.
Now, I couldn't apply that lighting to Hello, Dolly or Music Man.
Right.
I'd have
Right.
to
Right. Of
add
course.
some pretty gels. But
Right.
for chess, when the ensemble is all in gray suits, I could use that lighting.
Yeah, for sure. And you get away with it really nicely in chess.
Yeah.
You know, and so talk to me a little bit about, you know, the novelty of this version of chess.
Yeah.
Because this version of chess is current. It is meant to be current. It is meant to feel current. The book is current.
Yeah.
Talk to me about how that affected your lighting, because even though this show is a show from the 80s, it doesn't feel like, it feels almost as if it could be a new musical.
It feels very contemporary, right? I mean, that's because of the arbiters. The subject matter of like American, Soviet, and all that, you know, and Cold War, and I mean, you know, but also the arbiter having all those contemporary things. Yeah. I mean, but again, for me, chess is that music,
Yeah.
you know, and that music is like I think I bought chess on cassette, and it came out in '84. So whenever it came out, like around that time, I bought it in cassette, and I listened and listened and listened and listened to that amazing, weird, over the top, operatic music. You know, there's nothing else like that music. So that's what was cool about it for me. And I love that the music is like grand, like an opera, and it takes itself really seriously, that music. Like it's kind of humorless in such a good way. It's heroic, and it's like, to me, it's like Soviet. Like a lot of it's like Soviet. And I got this Soviet propaganda book because I love that propaganda work is humorless. There's not a shred of humor. Are we out of time? It's humorless,
No,
and it's
we're good.
grand, and it's heroic, and that's what I wanted the lighting to look like at times.
Yeah.
You know, in a fun way.
Yeah. Well, it is. It absolutely does that. It's interesting because I watched something recently with you where you mentioned that you were looking at those Soviet palettes and using that as inspiration too. And there are moments where there's a lot of reds. The red and black theme is very, very prevalent.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, and
we did this at the Kennedy Center, and I didn't have any set electrics, and I just remember we threw it together very quickly. I don't remember what it looked like.
Right.
We did this as a one night, I believe it's called an entertainment fund now. I've done a lot of those, used to be the Actors Fund.
Right.
They're hard. You have, like, in the morning, you're focusing, in the afternoon, you throw the show together, and you present it that night, and it's really exciting. Well, we did that on the set of Neil Diamond.
Oh, cool.
David Rockwell designed chess and Neil Diamond, and I designed Neil Diamond. So I knew what I had a ton of set electrics.
Nice.
And there were some looks we didn't do in Neil Diamond that I had always wanted to do, so we were able to do with Chess. But also, like, I explored this palette of red, white, and blue for that Actors Fund, that Entertainment Fund thing.
Yeah.
So I kind of figured out some palette things there. And what's amazing to me is how much on the set of that Neil Diamond show, our event looked like Chess. It didn't look like that Neil Diamond show at all.
That's funny.
It's like when we did the Spring Awakening reunion on the set of Ain't Too Proud, which I did. I didn't design Ain't Too Proud,
Right.
but I did design the reunion. And our event looked like Spring Awakening.
It's like serendipitous.
Amazing how much it looked like Spring Awakening.
Yeah.
It didn't look like Ain't Too Proud at all.
Funny. Yeah. That's such a funny little byproduct that comes out of that. I want to congratulate you on your Tony nomination for Chess. I mean, this is super exciting. And the Tonys, as we talk right now, are in a little over a week.
Yes.
Talk to me about what you're most excited about Tony's night this year.
I don't know. It's always a chore. It's a long night, and it's June, and it just sucks the moisture out of you slowly as you sit there for hours and watch. And
but you guys are one of the first. You know, being in the design.
That's not always the case. Like,
is that right?
Yeah. It's when I first started going 20 years ago. There was an hour before.
Yeah.
And for a few years, it was like the hour before. So, like, great, in 60 minutes, all this will be done.
Yeah.
And then they started spreading out through the broadcast. And there's no program like, here's what's going to happen tonight.
Oh, interesting.
So, like, in 2014, when I won for Hedwig, they at commercial breaks, they were like, and now revival of a musical. It's like, oh, geez, okay. Or not that, but there's some big awards we're going out. Like, okay, here we go.
Far too early.
Yeah, well, I sat, and you have to be in your seat at like 6 for the 7 o'clock broadcast. So I'm at 6, and the restroom's like 2 miles away. Elbi, they presented lighting at 10:20 that night.
Whoa!
Like commercial break after commercial break after commercial break. And I had to pee, and I sat. It was tortured. It's like, this is never, ever going to happen.
Oh my gosh.
And I went with my partner, Jim, my husband, and I'd look up, and I'm like, and there'd be some number, and I'm like, what's going on? What are we watching? He's like, it's a number from like a cruise ship. I'm like, okay.
Oh
like,
my
I was just
gosh.
like in this place.
Right. And you're waiting to see what's going to happen.
As the moisture is leaving my body. Yes, correct.
Crazy.
As I have to pee at the same time. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that was awful. I mean, it's great.
Well, it's very exciting, and we're rooting for you, obviously. And you know, it's
Thank you.
It's a thrill. The Tonys.
It's nice.
This is your 9th nomination.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
In the theater that I saw my first Broadway show.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's part of what made it. I actually enjoyed, for the first time ever, making a show. This is the first time I ever enjoyed making a show. Because I liked the music. I had a huge amount of lighting units to use. I had a plot I really like using.
Right.
I knew Leah. As people in the show I know well. I've met Minnie to Aaron, and great cast. But I saw my first Broadway musical, The Imperial. I saw there were only 10 previews for Dreamgirls, which blows my mind, in 1981. And I saw the last preview from like the back of the house.
That's so crazy.
That was my first Broadway show.
And now you're doing this. I mean, how full circle.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I want to also discuss this upcoming project, 2 upcoming projects. Galileo is coming to Broadway at the Shubert this fall.
Great theater.
At great theater, and you have Raul Esparza leading your team.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's terrific in the
he's
show.
Incredible. And I imagine you did it at Berkeley as well.
I did, which seems like 10 years ago.
Yeah. Well, talk to me about what we have to look forward to there, and what, the differences between out-of-town tryouts. And if, I guess this is a question I had for you too, is like with an out-of-town tryout, if you go, oh, you know what? I have, in the interim between the out-of-town tryout and transferring it to Broadway, I have this new idea. I don't think I was able to do that there. Kind of like the Stars moment that we were discussing in Spring Awakening, you couldn't do that at the Atlantic, but you could do it on Broadway. If things like that are coming to you now while you're in the middle of this pre-pro for this project.
Yeah, definitely. If we're preparing a show out of town at a regional theater, like, I kind of have to use what they have in stock.
Yeah.
And they have a little rental budget. So it's kind of like make do with a lot of great stuff. I can make something that looks kind of cool. But when we come to New York, then I can get whatever I want out of the shop. So
Right.
it's probably going to be a different rig. If it's a commercial production out of town, like SpongeBob or Cher was, there I can use the same technology at what used to be called the Oriental Theater, which is now called the Nederlander, where we did those shows. I can use the same rig in both venues. So I can add things, but that gets closer to what I want to do on Broadway.
Yeah.
For sure, the things we do off Broadway, Next to Normal, Spring Awakening,
They're
Passing
subject
Strange,
to those things. Yeah.
yeah, or Out of Town. I'm sort of making do, and then I can layer on a new thing for Broadway, or I can just overhaul it.
Right.
And it's like Hedwig, I can like, if there are ideas I like, I can like really develop those ideas, or I can add other things. Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And our show's great. We have good tunes.
Yeah.
And Raul's amazing in this.
Yeah.
He's very, very good in this.
I've heard that exact thing from Out of Town.
Always good, but
yeah.
Yeah. And we've done a lot of work on the show. We've done a tremendous amount of work on the show.
Yeah.
And we have some new designers, and we have a lot of new songs and new scenes, and lots of new performers. And
exciting.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm excited for it, and it's a great space, and it's just like
We're
it
the
seems like a
Shubert
show that
Theatre.
has a lot of power.
Yeah, like to just have done a show in the Imperial, then to do a show at the Shubert,
right across the street.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's super awesome. So I'm highly looking forward to that.
All right, good.
And lastly, you have this book
Yes,
that you're working on right now. That's coming out. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it used to be that I visit college classes a lot. I taught once, and it was terrible because I never took a lighting class, and I literally did not know what to teach them.
Yeah.
So that was a bust.
Sure.
I would never do that again.
Yeah.
But I visit college classes a lot, and they ask for years, and they ask like the same 25 questions. So I would think, I want to answer their questions well. So I would polish and polish and polish those responses from classroom visit to classroom visit. And then right after Funny Girl, it used to be that lighting designers didn't share their plots because they didn't want their work to be copied, because you kind of could copy a design for a show if you knew what the plot was, because it was Licos and Fresnels, and if you knew where they hung and you knew what the color was, you could kind of copy a design.
Interesting.
Now that it's all moving lights that people who copy probably can't even afford, there's nothing to copy.
Right.
Like, you can hang a bunch of moving lights and make 80 different shows.
Yeah.
At least. So I just felt so gross. I felt like Jabba the Hutt. Like, I'm sitting on all this information, all these drawings, and all this information, and it feels so gross not to share that. And I'm going to share it. So I made this list with a friend through Instagram of like 450 people, mostly students, lighting students.
Right.
And I started sending out like a thing about a show. Like, here's Funny Girl, here's the plot, here's all the drawings for the show.
Yeah.
Here's the paperwork. Here's these images. And then I would write like anywhere from 1,000 to 2,500 words, 3,000 words. That's a lot of writing. That's kind of a chapter. All on my phone. I did that all on my phone.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, because during COVID, my laptops sort of stopped. They slowed down. They didn't work so well.
Yeah.
I was just on my phone. I was very happy on my phone. But I was doing all that writing and organizing of lists and zip files and all on my phone, which is insane. I did like 11 of those or 12 of those.
Crazy.
And then I was like, oh, gosh, that's like a chunk of a book. So I printed all that out and put it in order. And it's like, oh, if I write about these 3 Hedwig things and Spring Awakening more and this and this and this, that's going to be a really good book.
Yeah.
Using all this stuff then that was clearer and clearer to me that I'd been saying in classes to college students about collaboration and picture making and all that stuff. So it has flowed somewhat easily. I have spent hours on it every day for a year and a half, this book.
Wow.
And it's just about you, but it's epic. It's 76,000 words.
Nice.
It's 208 color. It's all color book. 208 images.
Nice.
And it's for young people who want to make shows. It's not about electricity. It's not about like, this is how a light works, because I don't know how to do that book.
Right.
It's not about like where you hang a light. It's about collaboration. It's about making shows in collaboration and picture making
Right.
and tips for like living a life in the theater and making shows. So it's all that stuff.
And telling this story through light.
Yeah. Indeedy. And it covers about like 10 or 12 shows. Like most of what we've talked about today is in the book. It starts with Hedwig and ends with chess. And it's also about this energy efficiency transition that we've just had that I worked all the way through, that like I made really interesting work during.
Right.
So it's cool.
Yeah.
Now here's the cool part. Set designers have been making these books for years about their work, in their word, with these photos of their work, right? I mean, for decades. American Broadway lighting designers ain't been making those books. Like the last one that came out was kind of like Jean Rosenthal's book in the 70s that was made after she died. Like they put these lectures together and all this information that she had recorded. Lighting designers have not been making these books. And it was like, I'm going to make this book.
Absolutely.
You know, I have time and it's clear to me like what I want to say and I'm going to make this book.
Yeah.
But I wrote Natasha Katz and I said, Natasha, I'm only writing this book because you haven't. And you're the person who needs to write this book. You really should do this. Because I think that a lot of lighting designers should start making books.
Yeah.
Because people don't understand lighting at all.
Yeah.
When I moved to New York 30 years ago,
Yeah.
the New York Times used to profile theater designers.
Wow.
There were like 3 or 4 a year.
Wow.
So in 5 years, you could learn about the lives of like 15 to 20 designers.
Right.
John Lee Beatty, Jennifer Tipton, Jules Fisher.
Wow.
You could see, oh, this is what they look like. This is where they live. This is what their studio looks like. This is how they maneuver through New York City.
Right.
This is where they live, maybe. This is what their career is like. This is how they see the world, and this is how they work. Well, we started putting stars in the shows. So now the Times wants to write about Al Pacino and Julia Roberts. And all those designer profiles completely disappeared. They went away. Same thing with Playbill. Playbill used to profile designers.
Yeah.
Then they could measure clicks and see that, oh, look, the Al Pacino,
Right.
is going to get this, and the Joe Mantello is going to get this. And the schlubby designers, the techies, they're not going to get. So, like, people aren't being educated anymore about this.
Right.
But I can tell you there's so many people who are interested in it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And what's ironic is if you posted those profiles of designers, it's Al Pacino who's going to read that profile of the designer.
For sure. For sure. Well, and I think that's a big reason why we're doing this and we're making a commitment to have more designers on and to talk about these things, because me personally, I don't know enough about those things and I want to know more about it.
Yeah.
And also I think that it's a wonderful way to get the message out there for people who may not even know that lighting design is for them, similar to the way that you didn't know at the time that lighting design was what you wanted to do. You were more focused on scenic design and then you became a lighting designer.
The doors of opportunity open.
Yeah, so that's, I think, a huge
through.
intention. Yeah, for sure. We started the podcast by asking you,
Oh,
who
gosh.
was your I want to be like you when you were a kid?
Yeah.
And we want to conclude the podcast by asking you, who is your I want to be like you now? And it could be anyone, it could be someone in your life, it could be whoever you'd like.
John Waters is amazing. And I'll tell you why I think he's amazing. He's a reader. He's always been a reader. And I know how to read, okay? But I don't read so much. And
Sure.
That's not so hot. He's an outfits guy. And we've talked about his outfit. He's an outfits guy, and I like outfits people.
Yes.
Here's what I like about John Waters. He's positive. John Waters is interviewed about everything, right? And he's always so positive. Like he never dwells at the negative place. And for a man who's older, John's like 80 now, and as men age, those chemicals seep into your brain that make you into a cranky older person. He has fought that and won, and he has stayed positive, and that is so cool. And I wish that I could fight that and win that way.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I love that. I'll take it. Thank you so much for being here.
Sure.
Best of luck at the Tonys.
Oh, thank you so much.
Congrats on Chess. I saw it a couple months ago and we had a great time. We had just the best time.
It looks nice.
So
I'm very proud of it.
And I'm so highly looking forward to Galileo as well. So
all right.
congratulations on everything and thank you for being here. Kevin Adams. I Want to Be Like You with Elbi Cespedes is produced by Elbi and Angelina Cespedes. Special thanks to Christian Cespedes, Ina Cespedes, Vincenzo Salvatore Cakes, and of course, Kevin Adams.